By the time you viewed it, it is already etched in your mind. How can a viewer possibly show discretion at that point? Clearly, it cannot be a warning. Instead, it must be an advertisement. For decades of your life, the world has been priming you. The universe has been telling you. One day, there will be a show called Viewer's Discretion on Good Logic's channel. You really need to make sure you invest your time there. It doesn't matter what you had planned. You may be saying, but it's such a hot date. It's a free trip to Hawaii. Or, he really needs my kidney now. Shh, shh, shh. The world has spoken. You know what you need to do. Viewer's discretion is advised. Well, that didn't work. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Viewer's Discretion. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. Hope your weekend has been going phenomenally well, or at least tolerable. I had the privilege and pleasure of spending the weekend with much of my family, two of my daughters staying here for Shabbos, with my oldest, with my three grandsons, together with newlywed daughter. So yeah, all in all, had my father and his wife here. All in all, phenomenal, excellent as far as Shabbos goes. It was a pleasant distraction from everything going on in the world and all the news that broke over the last 72 hours or so. So that was great. I will tell you, just to get to like the Nick Rekieta, which I'm going to cover that after I share the other information with y'all. But just to get this out of the way, I have received a text back from Nick Rekieta. I'm not going to read the text to you, but he seems in, positive in the text that I received from him. And yeah, I'm gonna spend most of the show is gonna be talking about his situation and that whole deal. But first, did want to share with you a few weird things that happened this weekend that just sort of shocked me. And I guess for this, I need to credit Sandy for calling me to the attention of Matt Walsh. So one of the fans of my show, a woman by the name of Sandy, who did one of the reenactments with me. And she was she's a big fan of the show. Apparently she knows some folks who know Matt Walsh, and I express my kudos and thank you to you for calling my work to his attention. And apparently this happened. My sister and brother-in-law separately each were like texting me, like telling me that Matt Walsh was airing my work on his show. Yeah, that guy, Matt Walsh, Daily Wire dude. So in case you haven't seen it yet, well, I'll just share with you what he shared. And this was kind of weird to see. This was kind of weird to see. Let me share it with you so you can actually see what I'm talking about here. There's Matt Walsh on Friday. And let's hear what he has to say.
Hold a massive rally in the Bronx last night. Not exactly a traditionally pro-Trump part of town. And right now, it's all but certain that this is the only criminal trial that Trump will face before the election. So there's no real hope for Democrats to salvage their strategy of using lawfare to swing the vote. The collapse of the prosecution's case was sealed with the testimony of their star witness, former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen. It was always clear, as even the most partisan CNN panelists have admitted, that without Cohen, there's no case. He's the one claiming that Trump ordered him to pay hush money to a star to protect Trump's
We'll
campaign.
get to Nick. Don't worry.
Trump also tried to reimburse him through fake invoices for legal services.
Give me a moment.
Cameras allowed in the courtroom because in New York, judges do everything they can to imprison presidential candidates in secret. But fortunately, we do have transcripts of the proceedings, and a handful of YouTube channels have conducted dramatic readings of Cohen's cross-examination by Trump's defense team. And one of those channels is called Good Logic. It's run by a lawyer, and it's known for its legal analysis.
Lawgic. Oh, come on. So close. It's so far.
Channels is called Good Logic. It's run by a lawyer, and it's known for its legal analysis. So they're the perfect channel for the job.
Perfect.
And they understand how absurd Cohen's testimony is. So they have a hard time keeping a straight face. I'll go in chronological order throughout the testimony so that you can get a sense of how things escalated, or rather spiraled out of control for the prosecution. And I'll start with Michael Cohen claiming that Trump's team had secretly reimbursed him in part for the hush money payment. And for context, Michael Cohen had previously testified that he made around $420,000 a year from the Trump organization. That was his consistent pay year after year. But in this testimony, Cohen attempts to claim that one year, his $420,000 salary was actually a partial reimbursement for the hush money payment. Watch.
And I believe your testimony is that the way that the $35,000 a month, the way that that number was kind of developed.
At least it's there on the screen. Thank God I have good logic on the screen there. Thank God I got that up there, right? I mean, that's something.
Dollars for the payment to Ms. Daniels, right?
Correct.
$50,000 from the Red Finch polling situation.
Yes, sir.
That's 180, right?
Correct.
And then your testimony is that Mr. Weisselberg said, let's gross that up and double it, which brings you to 360.
One second, I need to answer with a straight face. That's correct. Yeah, they just voluntarily said, let's just double how much money we're going to give you. Let's just do that. Yeah. That's correct. That's exactly what he said. I didn't have a gun to him or anything, and he voluntarily just said, I didn't even suggest it. He just threw at me. Yeah. Why don't we just double that?
Every business deal.
You paid 180. We're going to give you back 360 because that's how our business operates. That's correct.
And then Mr. Weisselberg said that you were getting another $60,000 bonus.
Why not? Yes, sir. So it's 360 because we're doubling the 180 and then tacking on another 60.
Now, in case it's not clear, everything after the reenactor started laughing wasn't the actual testimony. They couldn't even get through the transcript because...
To be clear, I could get through the transcript if I wanted to, but I wanted the audience to call attention to just how absurd that particular segment was. So I could have gotten through it. I thought it was hilarious, but I still could have kept the... But I guess he's trying to make the point.
The claim that we're reading was too absurd.
I'm a reenactor now.
That the Trump organization didn't pay him $420,000 because that's what they always pay him. Instead, Cohen is claiming that during that particular year, the Trump team paid him $420,000 because they were giving him the hush money loan payment and then doubling it. And then adding a bonus because they were feeling generous, I guess. In other words, Cohen is claiming that this secret arrangement, which allegedly involves funneling a lot of money to a star and then reimbursing Cohen, just so happens to add up to Cohen receiving the same pay he would normally receive anyway. In order to sell a story like that to the jury, a story that doesn't make a lot of sense, you need to have a very trustworthy, unimpeachable witness. But in the next few minutes, Cohen made it clear that he's not only untrustworthy, he's also done something far worse than anything Donald Trump is accused of doing. Watch.
You never gave the $30,000 that was owed to the guy that owned Red Finch, did you?
No, sir.
So you stole from the Trump organization, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Did you ever have to plead guilty to larceny?
Oh, no, sir.
Have you paid back the Trump organization the money that you stole from them?
No, sir.
So this is the prosecution's star witness admitting on the stand to willfully stealing tens of thousands of dollars from his employer and not paying it back.
This is crazy.
By any measure, that's a lot more serious than falsifying a business record, allegedly. But New York prosecutors never had any interest in investigating Michael Cohen for that. Instead, they gave him immunity to testify.
Yep. It's insane.
That wasn't because Michael Cohen had any kind of credibility prior to this trial. Even before he admitted on the stand to stealing from his employer, Cohen previously lied to both Congress and the Justice Department. Additionally, Cohen had told numerous reporters in recorded calls on the record that Trump had nothing to do with the hush money payment. And he admitted that during this cross-examination as well. Watch.
What?
You and Mr. Alpstein went to visit Mr. Croman, who's
there
in
a
jail
link
here
here?
in New York City.
Yes, sir.
And this is around the time or right after the time that the story of you making the payment had been released, right?
I'm sorry. One more time, please.
When you went to visit him in jail, it was right after the story had been leaked out that you made the payment to Stormy Daniels, correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember saying that both of them, insisting to both of them that President Trump knew nothing about it?
I don't recall specifically saying that, but it would have been what I would have said at that time. Yes, sir.
You spoke to, again, we talked about it a lot, but you spoke to Ms. Haberman about it and told her that President Trump didn't know about it, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said that on the record, right?
Yes, sir.
You recorded conversations with multiple reporters where you told them you didn't know, correct?
No, sir.
Do you recall a conversation with a reporter named Suzanne Kianpour with the BBC?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall recording a long conversation with her in early February about the payment?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall telling her that there is no way you had told President Trump about it at the time? Do you remember telling her that?
Sounds correct. Yes.
So these are conversations that Cohen
There you
recorded
go.
sometimes secretly, in which he affirmed again and again that Trump had
does he
nothing to
link
do
him
with
to
these
me?
payments. And Cohen apparently didn't only tell that story to reporters. A defense witness, Robert Costello, also testified that Cohen told him in 2018 that Trump, quote unquote, knew nothing about the $130,000 payment that he made to Stormy Daniels. Throughout the trial, Trump's defense team outlined why Cohen has a motive to change his story and lie about Donald Trump.
Anyway, so he goes on with the rest of his segment there, which should I link it here? I should link it here, right? So you can, if you want to watch the rest of his coverage. I am good Lawgic and I approve this message. But yeah, I'm not seeing here. I'm not seeing where I'm a little nod, a little something in the description. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. I don't know. A little something. People want to watch the rest of the show. Maddie, I'm not seeing it. Not seeing it. A little frustrating, Matt. You got 2.86 million. You could send one or two my way. So that was that. I thought that was nice. It was a nice little boost there from a guy who's got a probably completely different audience from me. So that was good. And then there was this. Then there was this. Where was it? Good Lawgic. And this I'm going to need help from you guys. This was shared on my locals. goodlogic.locals.com. This was shared here on my locals. So I thank LJ Trekker for sharing this 5 hours ago. And check this out.
Thank you. I did a porn.
I think.
Okay,
What I find
it's
so
worse than you
funny
know.
about-
It's worse than
Oh,
you
you
know.
got more?
They've gone
Okay.
from just the panel of lawyers and political pundits to actual reenactments.
This is what's happening.
And I
no, no
apologize in
way.
advance because
Come on.
I love both of these lawyers. I'm a long time Kelly.
Oh, you see, she's a fan. I can't get on her show. She loves both of these lawyers. I can't get on the show though. I don't know what the deal is.
No
Apologize in
way.
advance because
Come on.
I love both of these lawyers. I'm a long time Kelly's court favorites back in the day. But this was deeply wrong. Watch.
Questions gonna be asked by Hoffinger and Stormy is going to be played by potentially criminal. Stormy, having been sworn in, court officer saying you could have a seat.
Thank you. Aaron, forget to make you pull your chair up to the microphone start. State your first and last name. Ready, go.
My name is Stormy Daniels. My last name Daniels.
I thought it was Stephanie Clifford personally, but okay. All right.
All right. Good morning, Miss Daniels.
Thank you. You may inquire. Something I can do for you, Judge. Oh my.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That's
How
just
are-
so weird.
How are they doing this with a straight face?
I don't know.
That's great satire.
Cringe.
It's great satire, but this is like a serious thing for them.
And
Could you
it's like
believe
a
it?
bad Lifetime movie.
It's the weirdest thing ever. I'm furious we didn't think of this first.
Yeah, we did.
Wait, the weirdest thing.
We
What
could
is
kill
happening
this.
here?
Fellas,
we
this is-
could kill this.
We
We
could
could.
kill this.
We could.
You know,
Oh,
you
you
can
could
still
do way
reenact the
better.
Stormy
Oh.
testimony. I mean, I think people would still listen to some of that. That's available to you.
I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening. There's so much that confuses me about this clip. There is so much that confuses me about this clip. Okay, first and foremost, if Megyn Kelly actually knows who I am and is a big fan of my work, which is what she said, I didn't put those words in her mouth. You think that like maybe a little bit about the whole good Lawgic versus Mershon thing? Hello? Desperately trying to get some attention on that. Desperately. Instead, these reenactments that I did, which was basically like, okay, how do I kill a knight tonight? Oh, okay, I'll do reenactment. People probably want to watch that. That's what's ending up on the Matt Walsh show. That's what's ending up on Megyn Kelly. That's first and foremost. It's so frustrating. I'm just like, dude, seriously. I mean, that was like a lark that I was just like hanging out and just like, let's go through the transcript, see what happened when Stormy Daniels was there, Michael Cohen was there. I was just that was literally a lark. That's what gets me on Matt Walsh and Megyn Kelly's in their spotlight. And I'm sitting here working like an animal, trying to actually remedy America or protect our First Amendment rights. No, we don't care about that. We're not talking about that. That we're not going to talk about. So that's the first thing. Look, Matt, Megyn, love you guys. Seriously. Just spend 15 minutes talking to me about this lawsuit. You understand why it's so important. 15 minutes. I don't know if you watch. I don't know if your producers watch this show. Someone's watching this show. Someone's coming across this. Please, for the love of God, I mean, this is something that's really important. It's really important. God, that's first and foremost. Second of all, when I was watching this, and I'm like, okay, no woman's talking here. I don't know who did this? Someone did this to my work that she found. She didn't even find my channel. I don't even know where she found this. I don't know what's happening here.
Yo, pull your chair up.
I wasn't whispering. Someone did a whisper voiceover. Somebody was doing the whisper. I did play some music, which I thought was like funny. I don't know if I played it at that point, but I did play some, background adult type of music, type of wonk, 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 like that. Yeah, to give some, some atmosphere, because I thought that'd make it more entertaining. There's no woman doing a read at this. Potentially criminal is the one who did it in like a terrible falsetto voice. And they have some woman's voice here doing, I don't know who did this. And Stormy is being played by potentially criminal. So the music Stormy, you hear here, I did have music like that. I don't know if that I played it at this point or not. Being sworn in, court officer saying you could have a seat.
Thank you. Aaron, forget to make you pull your chair up to the microphone start.
That's not me. Someone else is whispering. That's not me whispering. I don't know who did this. I think it's great. I'd actually wonder how much more is there that Megyn didn't share.
Your first and last name. Ready, go.
My name is Stormy Daniels. My last name Daniels.
I thought it was Stephanie Clifford personally, but okay. All right.
All right. Good morning, Miss Daniels.
Thank you. You may inquire. Something I can do for you, Judge. Oh my.
Oh my God.
I don't know who did that. And I really, if there is something out there, if one of you can help me find a lengthier version of this, a link for that, I would really love to see it. I'm not upset. I'm not bothered. There's no copyright infringement at all. No. I just want to savor it. So for the love of God, I'm certainly not going to I'm not going to be upset at anyone. If anyone's able to take my work and make money off of it, I always say, God bless. Go for it. I'm simply saying, hey, at least let me enjoy it, right? I don't know. I don't know what the story is. So, Megyn, if you're out there, tell me what your source material did Megyn do. Did Megyn? It doesn't sound like her voice. Did she get someone to do that? I don't know. I don't know who did that. I have no idea who did that. I don't know what's happening. I don't know anything. I'm just very confused by the whole situation. So maybe some of you know where that is. Do you guys know where to find that? You guys know where that is? Any of you? No one knows. Everyone's just, she found it. How'd she find it? None of you can. Because that's not the version I did. You think Megyn edited it herself? You think Megyn edited it? That would be funny if she did. That would be funny. I don't know. All right. Let me get some of the stuff that's been piling up here in the back. And then we'll get in on, we'll start talking about Nick Rekieta and that whole situation. All right. So, first and foremost, welcome to the following. We got a bunch of new members in the following. We're going to cover these first. So, Mr. Armageddon becoming a YouTube member. Welcome to the following. The following is not at all a cult type of cult. Jim tells you, renewing it, your true friend to Nick. Thank you. I try to be a true friend to anyone who merits it. Kevin and ABQ also becoming a new YouTube member. Welcome to the following. As I said, the following is not at all a cult type of cult. Okay, and yeah, I'm not the leader of the following. I am not the leader of the following, but I do appreciate our king of recruitment here, Master Phillips, who is out and available. Ladies, just saying, he's available. So, Master Phillips welcoming 5 new people to the following. I don't have it open. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see who got added in. I'll still be able to see that. I'm not sure I will. New people to the following. Oops, that's an echo. Am I going to be able to see that? Chances are no, I'm not going to. But those of you who were welcomed into the following, courtesy of the generosity of Master Phillips, I'm going to ask that you kindly extend your gratitude to him. Please bear in mind that the following is not at all a cult type of cult. There's no Kool-Aid, there's no spaceships, there's no tracksuits that are mandatory, mild farm work, no squirrel mutilations, no goat sacrifices, no throwing virgins into volcanoes, no dancing in a forest around a bonfire while shucking off clothing to the beat of a tom-tom. No self-harm, no harming others, no stabbing yourself with the jabby jab, no smearing blood on the walls that says red rum, red rum, red rum, red rum. It's not at all a cult type of cult. And most importantly, I am not the leader of the following. Say it with me. Joe is not the leader of the following. Thank you. And welcome aboard. Okay, what else we got going on here? John saying, Joe, you're a good man, but I don't know if I had the heart to listen through it. Rittenhouse trial streamer quit me right before I practiced. Best wishes. I don't know what you mean. It's a lot hard to listen through it. You'll have the heart. I'm going to give you plenty of heart. Here. And Mr. Armageddon, our new member, saying, I love and hate Nick right now, but with no malice. We all have the potential to make big mistakes. It's what we do next that matters. And I agree with you 100% on this. Learning the true facts as they come out is important. I wish Nick the best. Everything you say, I concur with 100%. 100%. Trent Paul saying he's an advocate for free will. I assume you're talking about Nick Rekieta. And yeah, he is. He's very libertarian in his political beliefs. And yeah. Okay. We're going to go through a little more details that have uncovered. And I know that there's a lot of hate out there towards Nick Rekieta. I get that. I understand that. I'm going to talk about that also. It's going to become like a little bit of a humanities type of thing. Thank you for calling out potentially criminal for crapping on Nick. Yeah, I didn't like I didn't like the whole vibe. I didn't like the whole vibe. I'm probably gonna pull that clip up and explain what I was trying to say there in greater detail, because I was on a bunch of streams on Friday. I as you're likely aware, I did not stream the arraignment myself. Honestly, I didn't even think about it. I was so like in a weird place trying to figure out what to do with this story. And what I realized is that because I was just in a weird place because I was like, I don't want to violate any confidences. Not that I know nothing about his drug use. I never talked to him at all about about drugs ever. So it's a whole disparate element, whatever there is, if there's anything, which we all assume at this point. In fact, I'm going to go forward and say, for the purposes of this stream, I want to be clear. I'm not assuming anything is true, but just for the purposes of this stream, going forward, I'm going to assume that there were actual drugs found in his house in noticeable quantities. Okay? I'm going to assume that that's accurate, that's true, even though I do not know it to be true, and I have certainly zero verification from Nick about him ever possessing drugs of, any kind, actually, if I think about it, not even marijuana. So I don't have any inside knowledge on that. I am not going to be able to provide you. And if I did have inside knowledge, I certainly would be telling you I don't have inside knowledge. As it happens, I think most of you realize that I don't, drugs are like a whole different scene from anything that I'm ever involved in. And it's not the sort of thing that Nick would talk to me about, because what would be the purpose in it? So, yeah, but I do understand friendship, and I understand relationships, and I also understand conceptually the ideas of, and I know some of you are going to, I know that I'm expecting and anticipating, I'm positive that there are those of you in the chat, I'm not looking at the chat this second, I'm positive those of you in the chat who are going to call me a Nick simp or an enabler or something of that kind, basically implying that there's some sort of superiority to your position than to mine. And I know you're wrong on each of those counts. I mean, I guess Nick simp, am I a fan of his? Do I consider him a friend? I guess if you want to call that simping. As far as being an enabler, there's no way that I'm an enabler. But I want to talk about, because I'm certainly not tolerating the idea of him continuing to engage in drug use. And this is assuming, like I said, for purposes of this stream, I'm going to assume that he has engaged in drug use, in considerable drug use. And I'm certainly not, I'm not going to deem that okay going forward. It's like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. It's my personal perspective as far as like, as far as like giving a whitewash. With all that being said, where we are today, May 25th, now in East Coast, May 26th, 2024, I think the entire world should be supporting Nick without any reservations. I'm going to talk about what that actually means. I'm going to go through the charges with you as we now know them. I might even review with you the arraignment, because I think that the way he conducted himself there was really interesting and it's probably a good teaching moment. And I'm going to go through the charges, what we should anticipate for him to be facing with respect to potential outcomes with these charges. And I'm going to talk about different takes that people on social media have had with respect to this whole thing, and why my take has been mirrored by some and different from others. And we'll address that. Still can't get over. Yeah, I know. I don't know what the deal is. No one can figure this out. I am over 97. When I came in here, I was over 97 too, which I came into Shabbos at 97. So I assume I picked up like 200 or 300 courtesy of Megyn and or Matt Walsh. And for that, thank you. Genuinely, thank you. I assume that's how I picked up those extra subs. But yeah, please remember, it's not at all a cult type of cult. Check locals. No need to read out loud. I did see what you said on locals, and I appreciate that. And yeah, I'll definitely consider that. I saw what you wrote on locals, so I appreciate you, brother. All right, we almost done with this. Comment on the Walsh video may get pinned. Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be nice. Joe, they simply don't appreciate fine. Apparently not. Feeling very, very unappreciated. Sell entertainment first, Constitution second. Okay, that's true. And I've gone on record. In fact, I think I even said on Friday on one of these streams that one of the things that I learned from Nick Rekieta, and it's not like he gives me like lessons. I want to be clear here. He did very early stages. He did say, this is something you need to do. This is something you need to do. This is something you shouldn't do. This is something you should avoid doing. He was talking about video editing. He was talking to me about how to, what to do as far as setting things up. And then I studied and I was like, how would I take what he does and do it my own way? And he also was incredibly encouraging. Like, I didn't even know there was doing this until I saw Nick doing it. Okay, that's how. It's not like I was like thinking, oh, this is something I want to do. Oh, and here's a guy who's successful at doing it. I had no concept of the idea that people can just get on a camera, start talking, and make a livelihood just live streaming. Like that was just completely foreign to me. And then he invited me on his show because he saw a video I did. I really was thinking I was going to be more like the Viva Fry in your car lawyer type of thing. That's what I was trying to do. Then I saw what Nick was doing, and I was like, I could totally get down with doing that. And when I told him that, he was incredibly encouraging. And I was so terrified of ever taking a nickel from his pocket and eating from his pond of fish, so to speak. And he's telling everyone, sub up to me, and telling me stream. And I actually asked him permission to stream leading into him. And I said, I'll move everyone over to you. It's like move everyone over to. He had like 700 live viewers at the time because he was still much smaller at that point. He would have 700, 1,000, and I had 30. It's like he's going to even notice if I send people over to him. But I was like so cognizant. I was like, I don't want to ever. And he's like, no, go into my time. The first year that I was on here, those of you who were following me, like, Joe and a lot of you who were following me from the very early days know that at 12 o'clock, I was like, I turn into a pumpkin now because this is when Nick is starting and I'm out of here. And I was doing it for well over a year before I ever crossed that threshold. And that was with his consistent urging to not worry about that time parameter. Even though, like I said, he had pushed his viewers to sub up to me and then basically telling me, keep going into my time. That's a real selflessness. It's not like he knew me very well. He didn't. We had met. To this day, we've met once. I mean, I've been on stream with him a whole bunch of times, countless times. But we've met once for like a few hours, and that was it. We hung out at a bar. I took him out drinking one night. That's it. But at the same time, we have a deep respect for each other's as people and respective talents and perspectives. So that was really the foundation of our friendship. But I'm going to get into why I support him. I have my own reasons. I'm going to get into why everyone should support him. But first, I need to get through all this stuff here first. So this is your chance to be the transcript court father, perhaps the reenactor extraordinaire. Yeah. And the problem with doing reenactments is that I feel so isolated I'm not really engaging you guys at all. And part of what I enjoy about this is that engagement. And it's purely like I'm just doing a script read. And it's not, and I think a lot of scripts are going to be boring. These are uniquely interesting. So meant that it was an edit from someone on Locals. The original Megyn clip is in a reply on the post. Also, maybe leave a comment on Matt Walsh. It's in a reply on the post? Is it really? Let me check that out. Yeah, I'm curious.
In the case of Rachel Maddow.
That's the whole video, but is there I want the whole video. I don't want the whole Megyn video. I want the whole video of me of that she was using and sharing with them. I see LJ shared that. Here's the link to Megyn. Go through the whole thing right now. But I want what she got. That's what I'm looking for. But Thank you. The accurate talking point that an addict has to want to change himself is oft repeated. That doesn't mean strong support from friends, family isn't invaluable. Good on you, Joe. 100%. 100%. I cannot force him. And again, I'm starting with an assumption, which is, shared by most of the world opinion that these charges are largely true. And I don't know that, but I'm starting with that assumption for purposes of us all being on the same page. Okay. That assuming these charges are largely true, that he needs help. I agree with you. He needs rehabilitation. And I'm hopeful that he'll get it. But he has to want that. That's not something I can make him want, or anyone else can make him want. Even his own spouse can't make him want that. But I'll explain to you why it is I'm confident that he will come to that. There's so much incentive for him to do that right now. So much incentive. Nick got what he deserved. He made his own bet. I'm guessing you're on his path. Put down the straw. See, this is the classic speculation. I'm going to save this. We're going to come back to this. I mean, as it happens, me personally, I'll tell you right now, I've had marijuana like a handful of times, less than 5, I want to say. Only because I don't really enjoy it that much. And I've never tried hard drugs in my life out of a terrifying fear that much as I was easily addicted to cigarettes, that I would become addicted to harder drugs. So I was always terrified of it. I was terrified that I would become a hardcore addict. So that's why I've never tried cocaine. I've never tried X. I've never tried anything harder than marijuana. But everyone's gonna make their own speculations. So, hey, I'm not mad. I just want to talk, Joe. Right? Okay. That's me. Hey, I'm not mad. I just want to talk. Thank you for gifting membership. You're awesome. I'm gonna give you one of these just because I appreciate that generosity. Please, Nick, tell Nick to go straight to the doctor if he can't handle the withdrawal. They have medication to help. I've heard of amazing things like that also. So, Sean reported the info and he said he wants Nick to get better. He explained the law and the process. Send him a link. Tonight I sort of want to do this solo. I didn't even know if he's in the chat, but I think I want to do this solo tonight. Sometimes I'm in the mood to. Sometimes in the mood to talk to someone else. Sometimes in the mood for a solo. It's not really in the mood for a solo. Let's face it, most Law 2 was built on Nick's back. Furthermore, supporting Nick is not trying to justify his actions nor shaming the person who reported him. Yeah, I wouldn't shame the. I don't know the pastor who purportedly reported him. And supporting Nick means encouraging him. Look, at the end of it, we just want Nick back. We want Nick that we all love and remember. The Nick of 2 years ago that we all want. That's the guy we want back. None of us ever want to see again what we saw early last week. None of us want to see that. I want to see this dude be the superstar he has been. And that's part of the reason why I think everyone should be supporting him. Because he has shown a unique capacity to express himself in ways that the world needs that expression, and ways that cannot be mirrored by any other person, not by me, not by Branka, not by Robert Barnes, not by anyone. He has his own unique expression, and his expression is important. It's something that's healthy for the world. And his own perspectives. I don't agree with him about everything that he says. I agree with a lot, but not with everything he says. And his perspectives are important. And he can only deliver that to you if he's able to, cope with this entire thing properly. And whatever stresses he's dealing with, or whatever addictions he may be dealing with, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs. I don't know. I've never seen toxicology report on the guy. But whatever addictions he may be dealing with, that needs to be remedied now. Not next week, or the week after. Now. It's got to be remedied now. For legal reasons, if nothing else, just in the short term. And I'm confident that he will. I have so much faith in that guy. And I want to go through the conversation that I had late on Friday. which I was really bothered. Hold on a second, it's getting a little warmer. Show the air conditioner. Innocent until proven guilty, 100%. 100%. With that being said, there's the court of public opinion and then there's court of law. And in the court of public opinion, the public tends to find people guilty based on the charges. They do. That's just reality. That's just reality. Because we don't know better. We don't really hear the other side. And that's what. So I'm basically, like I said, I'm starting with an assumption just for purposes of this show. I'm not finding him guilty. I'm not saying I'm not passing judgment about whatever it is. I'm starting with this assumption that they're largely true, and I'm certainly not passing judgment on him for any practices or any excursions into drugs and alcohol beyond those that I've engaged in. I don't care about that in the sense of like, this is a reason for me to hate on you. And we're going to talk about his kids and the potential ramifications, because that's one thing that people have been throwing a lot at. I get this. I've seen so many people say they're just worried about his kids. They're just worried about his kids. So I'm going to talk about that also. All the people who are worried about his kids. Hey, the Death Angel Shadow becoming a YouTube member. Welcome aboard. Please bear in mind, the following is not at all a cult. Type of cult. It's just not. Unhung Hero. Until he admits he has a problem, take steps to fix it. Why should anyone support a child abusing drug/sex addict? We'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about that very soon. Very soon. And I agree that facing up to his demons, but when you say until he admits he has a problem, one of the things you sort of have to ask yourself is, who is he supposed to admit that to? Because one of the things that I learned from him, which is definitely correct, and someone mentioned this, and I'll start getting into this concept. Someone said out there, like, until he gets an apology, he gets no grace from me. And I don't understand what that means. He's actually the one who taught me, and I've thought about this a great deal, that you never bend the knee to a public call for apology. There's a public call for apology. It's like, who the hell are you apologizing to? What does that even mean? Oh, it's like until we see you broken, stripped and broken, that's when we can start, like, granting you grace. Until then, I'm not giving you any grace. I need to see you publicly apologize. To whom? To whom? If he owes his wife or his kids an apology, yeah, damn Skippy, he sure as F should give them that. I'm totally down with that. And if such an apology is owed, which I can hear very strong arguments. I can hear very strong arguments people making to me based on this assumption that these charges are largely true. I can hear very strong arguments that he does. If he does, that's between him and his kids and him and his wife. That's an internal family member, which is none of my damn business. It's none of your damn business. But the public call that we have to know that this apology happened, what does that even mean? Who the hell are you? Who the hell am I to say that this is something that that's what I don't understand. And it's almost as if, because part of what we do, especially people who stream the way he and I do, where it's not this whole fancy production, where it's obviously some stage type of thing, but it's a very personal conversation that we have with our audience. So I understand that part of what we are selling, and I don't mean selling in the negative way, part of the allure is that we are inviting you into our lives. I get that. But I'm just like, who is he apologizing to? Somebody who watched his show and was disappointed because he wasn't on his best, because he was on drugs, on this? Like, who is he apologizing? Like, and for what is he apologizing to them? Now, and I know he's gotten a lot of hate, and this is an interesting thing, which I've mentioned. I said we can talk about that, and I think it's important to talk about this. I think it's important to talk about this other issue, which has been brewing along the lines of Nick Rekieta for over a year, probably at this point. And that is the public hate that he gets, where people feel let down because they looked at him as as presenting moral perspectives that he was, in their opinion, failing to live up to. And it's a very, very interesting. It's a very interesting dichotomy. It's a very interesting dichotomy in the sense that let's say you have a person who has, a situation. What is this situation? Let's assume that we're starting with this assumption that these charges are largely true. So what we see here is a man that people held him to task, that you're sitting here preaching being a family man and the values and benefits of being a family man. Or let's assume that he was overtly stating all the time, which I don't think he did, but let's assume that he was overtly stating all the time all the negatives about getting addicted to cocaine. Now we have this situation where it comes out that he himself was on cocaine. So the critics are obviously going to be like saying you're a hypocrite, you're Tartuffe or whatever. They're going to basically say all sorts of terrible things about that person. And this is something I actually don't really, I'm not going to profess to you to have the right take on what I'm about to say, because it's something I've sort of been bandying about in my brain for a long time. And that is, should someone only give advice if they themselves let's assume that advice is healthy and proper. Should they only ever issue that advice if they themselves have the strength to live by the guidance that they are presenting to others? In other words, does it make it worse? The people who, let's say, he helped, let's assume there were some drug addicts out there, that he basically helped them kick the habit. Let's assume that he had been preaching against drugs. Like I said, I don't think he has been preaching about that per se, but he definitely presented an air of morality, an air of like, this is like healthy living. And people felt like he didn't live up to it with this picture or that incident or whatever it is. So his failure to live up to the ideals that he says these are the ideals of things that are a healthy thing to do, does that now make it not true because he failed to live up to them himself? Does that mean that he hasn't actually helped people by doing it? And a lot of people I know that I'm fully expecting this is going to get clipped. I don't really give a damn. I think it's philosophically an interesting question as to, so the only people who should be, assuming that is a proper take, that if you can't live up to the ideal, then who the hell are you to actually share the ideal? So how many people are we going to be left with who can actually inspire something, a healthy perspective? You're basically, we're limiting who is available to give guidance to the handful of saints who have very strong moral character, very strong in the fortitude that they never slip. And you can take a position that we have to do that because otherwise the person's a hypocrite. And I can't disagree with the fact that there's a logic to that. There's a logic to that. The obvious downside, though, is, so basically what you're saying is no one should be able to give advice, because everyone has demons. No matter how great the person is, they're going to have demons out there. And I sometimes question whether the people who look to find those demons in someone who gives a healthy message, it's their way of trying to, it's not the objective that's motivating them is this way I can discount the message altogether by attacking the messenger. So if I can attack the messenger and say, oh, you yourself failed to live up to this ideal in situations A, B, C, D, therefore your message, I'm going to just reject it, that there's no truth to it at all, which is ridiculous, because that's the flaw in an ad hominem fallacy, right? Where it's like, basically, because of who the speaker is, all of a sudden the content of his speech or her speech has no meaning anymore. Really? If that's true, then you should be able to just knock down the flaw in what's being espoused rather than just relying on attacking the speaker. But I think what happens is that it's people who don't want to hear the message that's being conveyed that basically say, oh, okay, because it's coming from this source who's failed to live up to that ideal, therefore everything that they've ever said is now meaningless and disproven as being true, which is apparently foolish. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I think it's actually like a way of shielding themselves from the arrows that are being slung. Now you can sling the arrows back at him. That I think is totally fine. I think, in other words, if let's say someone is preaching and can't live up to those ideals, and then you basically, show his failure to live up to those ideals in context of his own perspectives, that I think is totally fair game. Because in the sense that if it's being done, certainly if it's being done for the purpose of checking that guy back into place so that he can correct himself back onto a healthy path. No judgment, but he needs to figure his crap out. It'll take time. Oh yeah. The redemption arc is not a 10-second deal. No, and it's a lifelong journey. It is. Can we all recount your thoughts and journey? I guess so. Joe, I like me too, but coke is a hell of a drug. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. And addiction's a hell of a thing. Addiction's not easy. I'm praying for him too. Yeah. Hope this attention by Walsh and Kelly gets you over that 100K mark. You deserve it. Having said that, hit the like, please. 2.3K watching and only 600 likes. Do better, people. Hashtag ungag Trump. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Talking Trash. Oh, my God. The Nick is gone, but we can hope for a better Nick in the future. We may want Nick. Unfortunately, he may not yet. It's a true tragedy for his kids. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Check out Barnes' take on America's untold stories. Maybe I'll do that, Kimmy. America's untold stories. It's an hour and 50 minutes long, so I need like more direction on that. Anyone who says they only support the kids and not Nick or Caleb denies the family as a unit. They're all going through it. They all need the prayers. Yes, 100%. And that's another reason, if you actually gave a damn, the slightest damn about Nick or his kids, if you actually really cared about his kids, then you would want him better. You would want him, you're basically saying you believe he has used drugs consistently or abused drugs. And as I said, for the purpose of this show, I'm going to go along with you. So you know what? Let's assume that he's terribly abused drugs. You should be praying for those kids, praying for them that he gets better. Rather than just like bashing him. It's not benefiting the kids at all to bash their father and basically try and make him depressed, suicidal, whatever it is that the objective of that is. How the hell is that helping any kid? Where on earth is that helping a kid? It's such an empty BS. You're a liar. You're a friggin' crazy lunatic for thinking that anyone with a brain actually believes you give the slightest damn about his kids. If the way you express that is by bashing Nick, like how the hell does that help his son, his daughter, any of them? How? What does that do? What does that do? Like I don't even understand it. This is what blew me away. God bless you. Tankrat gifting 50. God bless you, brother. 50 memberships. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't even know where to start looking at these folks. How do I find these people? How do I find these people? I need to see who got gifted. 50 memberships. Oh my God. Thank you so very much. I can't get it. I can't get it. I'm going to say thank you again. I'm going to blow another war horn for you. God bless you, Tank Rat. Thank you very much. Wow. Wow. That's astonishing. Thank you. Welcome to the following. You hear whether you want to be or not now. You got no choice now. Now you're stuck. God bless you. The following is not at all a cult type of cult. I'm not the leader. Everyone knows. Everyone keeps saying that's actually a slogan. Joe is not the leader of the following. I should make a t-shirt that says that. Joe is not, and then all caps, not the leader of the following. Just so everyone understands. Everyone understands. Nick needs to admit he has a problem to himself. Yeah, but he doesn't need to admit it to you or to me. That's the thing. Assuming everything we're saying, and I'm going along for the purposes of the show, I'm going along with it. Yeah, that's true. 100%. He doesn't need to admit it to me or to you. But I will say this. I mean, I am sufficiently aware to recognize that I do think that the public at large would sort of expect that as part of his redemption arc. You know, we talked about the concept of him having a redemption arc. I do think the public at large would sort of look for him to be more open about it, about his challenges in dealing with the white powder. So that's true. He's innocent until proven guilty, and those problems will exist whether he has criminal charges or not. That's true. That's true, Sean. 100%. My sister-in-law is a CPS supervisor. She says at most the kids will be placed with a family until a safety plan is in place. Yeah, so and from what I understand, I know that he lives, he's told me several times that he lives, relatively close to his in-laws, his mother-in-law and father-in-law. That's why he lives in a place where, the weather hurts your face, like northern Minnesota or central Minnesota. So that's why he lives there instead of moving down south. And hopefully, to the extent that the kids need supervision while people are dealing with these issues, I don't know anything about that. And if I did, there's no way in hell I would ever talk about that. So send Sean a link. He's watching on Locals reacting. All right. You can watch me on Locals. Like I said, people can use my work whatever way they feel benefits them. That's fine. Master Phillips. One time I paid Nick to cigarette shame me. It was one of the most fiery rants I've ever seen him do. It was at least 2 solid minutes, just on the spot, no big deal. I haven't quit yet, but that rant still changed my life. And that's another unique talent he has. I've tried emulating it, and by comparison, I suck. I suck at it. I am so bad at it compared to him, at shaming people into doing something. And that's one of the things that he's talked about a lot, shaming someone into healthier living. He's talked about how fat shaming is a good thing. I've heard him say that. And it's something that I never thought of before until I heard him go on that rant. And I was like, yeah, he's right. People do need to be shamed sometimes. So, and I'm sure a lot of people try and take shelter behind that and say, that's why I'm doing this to Nick. That's not why you're doing it to Nick. That's not why you're doing it. You're doing it to get people to hate him. That's what you're doing. Let's face it. Despite this earned grace is given, Nick deserves both right now. Yep. Yeah. Kimmy Joe says, 1, child abuse and child neglect are 2 different things. 2, those who are so damn perfect start throwing their stones. And that's my point. Look, the world needs voices of sanity out there. And I don't think that they should be restricted to people who are saints. I don't believe that makes any sense at all. I think that's just sinner talk. It's literally sinner talk. I can't listen to you because you have your own sins. It's really? Who are you going to listen to then? Who? That's just I don't want to listen to anyone to anyone telling me what to do. And this is my excuse for how I can dismiss your perspective is by basically saying, well, you have your own flaws. it's the same motivation as to why people gossip in general. That same motivation, that same mindset, why people gossip is like, if I put people down, it makes me feel better about myself. So I could put down this person who's chastening me from the conduct that I enjoy doing. So now I don't have to listen to what they're saying. And I can say, I'm better than them. Well, I'm better than you anyway, so why should I listen to you? But it's really a way of continuing your own self-destruction by basically saying, I don't have to listen to this, even though everything that they're saying logically makes a lot more sense than any arguments I'm making in support of continuing self-destructive behavior. Honestly, Nick, you owes us nothing. He owes himself and by extension his family everything. 100%. He deserves grace from us and himself too. Life can be hard. And again, I'm not the type to basically say, oh yeah, and if he falls off the wagon, that's okay. No. This starting with this assumption that there is a problem here, which I think it's a fair assumption for most of us to make. Yeah, I don't believe in giving multiple, like, okay again, okay again. Okay, no, that's when it's enabling. That's when it's enabling. But yeah, this is saying right now I support Nick and I believe that he's going to have a redemption arc is not saying that I'm going to excuse his refusal to engage in his redemption arc. That's two different things. Thank you, Joe. I choose to ignore the perfect people in the chat. Yeah, everyone's perfect. Everyone out there is perfect. Unhung didn't say he wanted an apology, just that Nick accepts he has a problem. Instead, he's coping and calling it lies like he has for the last year. Now he has felony charges. Don't enable him. So sleazy, what I'm going to tell you is this. I saw his first statement. I understand. I think right now he's dealing with things that few of us have ever dealt with. I saw his first statement. I agree. To himself, at the very least, he needs to accept that that there are changes that need to be made for himself, for his children, for his family, not for me, not for you, not apologies to me or you or the public, but that, like, look, if you find yourself in a situation where you are pleading not guilty to drug charges, you've made mistakes in your life that really have been potentially dangerous. Even if the charges are totally bogus, even if they were totally bogus, it's a reflection that something is being done wrong. Something needs to be done better. And it doesn't mean hiding drugs better. No, it means something needs to be done a lot better. I mean, that's just reality. Most of us who left this channel this past year in disappointment disgust would love to see the old Nick, and watch return. It's up to him, though. 100%. It is up to him. I agree with that. Absolutely, in the 100 on the glass houses. Yep. Hypocrisy is the price vice pays to virtue. It's the price vice pays to virtue. It pays to virtue, or wait, not sure. Not sure I understand this. Sounds like something which is it a charge? Vice is charge of virtue? No, it's price we pay. I gotta think that one through. Addiction is hard to conquer. 100%. Look at me. I'm vaping. I'm very far from saying how to kick an addiction. I mean, it's much better than cigarette smokes. Much better. But and my fear of my own addiction is why I never touch cocaine. Addiction is hard to conquer. It's almost like a religion. If you could walk away from your religion, that's how hard it is for someone who abuses drugs. I mean, I think a lot of it depends on what you've been doing also and how hard you've been doing it, I think a lot of it depends on that. I think a lot of it depends on that. I saw red, and when I see red, I love your channel. I found it through Nick. You're the type of friend that everyone wants. Thank you. I'm going to pause here. I want to share with you a thought. I want to share with you all something, and this is something I use this incident as a teaching lesson for my kids. Okay, not that I'm worried, thankfully, about them engaging in drugs. I use this as a teaching lesson. This is part of a conversation that I had with each of my 2 younger sons, and not because of anything they did or they said, but I felt that this was an important moment, and I'm going to share with you what I said to them. And I started talking about this a little bit on one of the channels that I was on. Some of you may have seen or whatever. And this is part, I've talked about Nick and his redemption arc. And I've talked about how I genuinely believe that he will have an amazing redemption arc. And that people will remember why they fell in love with Nick Rekieta. I'm very confident that will happen. There are a lot of reasons to have that belief. There are a lot of reasons to believe that even though it's very, very hard, really hard, crazy hard, everyone's talking here about how difficult it is to beat an addiction. Why we should have confidence that Nick has the capacity and indeed will go forward with that. We all know how much this guy loves his kids and that he's intelligent. And what he needs to, assuming that he is dealing with addiction, which is something we're all sort of starting with that assumption. And again, I don't know, but for the purposes of this show, I'm starting with this assumption that he has a drug addiction problem. We know that he has such strong conviction, such stubbornness that can be positive or it can be negative. It can go either way. I mean, you saw in his battle with Monty, the level of stubbornness that he has. And that is a quality which often people use negatively, but it similarly has the capacity to work positively for you. And he also has the wisdom and understanding. He's sufficiently experienced to understand that these mistakes that he's made, and I don't know if it's 2 mistakes, 5 mistakes, 500 mistakes, but whatever series of events led to what happened to Nick Rekieta over the past 7 days, that this is not a path which can possibly result in a positive outcome for his children. And he's sufficiently intelligent to understand that. He doesn't need me to tell him that. He knows that. He knows that better than I do. And he also has such strength of will that, yeah, is there physical strain? Is it difficult? Yeah. But I genuinely believe that he has the capacity, and that even if he doesn't have the desire this second, because everything is still a blur to him, everything's still hitting him, and when that settles down and he really thinks about where he's been and the entire arc that he's been on and where he would like to be, that he can develop the stubbornness to overcome whatever addictions he's dealing with, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And I believe he will. Because I know this person. I know he's a good person. All the complaints people have about him, every complaint people have about him, no one ever really, people recognize that anyone in his sphere, anyone around him, he's not a vindictive person. He's not a mean person. He's not like someone, he's actually just wants people around him happy. And yeah, he can be a little bit aggressive in the way he'll mock people. That's true. His objective is never like, it's like I'm trying to, his objective is ultimately to make people around him happy, which is why he was so freaking talented. Part of why he was motivated to become so freaking talented as an entertainer as he was. So for all these reasons, I know he has the capacity, and I strongly believe that he will use that capacity to deal with whatever demons he's currently fighting. And I know a lot of people say, yeah, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen, because we see so many people who say that they're going to get better and never do. And we have. Everyone's seen it. We've seen it with countless people. And that's far more common that people, almost like it's like a New Year's resolution that falls apart 10 minutes, by January 4th. We've all seen that. I don't foresee that happening with him. I think that he will go on a genuine redemption arc, and that he will stay true to that redemption arc. So I believe in him. And people might look at me like, oh, we're gonna prove you wrong. Like, as if that gives them a win or something. As if there's like some win in accurate. Let's assume everything I'm saying, all my belief about him, is wrong. It's possible. I mean, it's very possible. Statistically, I guess the math is probably against me. Right? When you consider how many people make New Year's resolution, how few actually abide by them. Even though I think this is far more significant than a standard New Year's resolution. But my point is, I draw this from how we should be dealing with people in general. What I told my sons is this. This is what I told them. I didn't talk to them about drugs. I didn't talk to them about redemption arcs. I didn't talk about anything like that. When my sons are studying in school away from home, different schools, and they come home on the weekends, my older one, I see him like once a month, every 3 weeks or so. He's turning 20. It's not like I'm in a position that I can control his life. Thank God I have a healthy relationship with him. I can talk to him about anything. But what I told him is this. When we meet people, when you meet somebody, if you have a healthy mindset and you haven't become jaded by society yet, and if you haven't, God bless you. But if you're not yet jaded by society, a healthy assumption when you meet someone, a brand new person, is to assume that they are a good quality person. And give them the benefit of the doubt. This is probably a good, normal, they have integrity. They have a healthy level of concern for their fellow person, that they're genuinely overall, everyone's flawed, but they're overall a good person. That is grace. That is you giving them that, making that assumption about someone like that is you. That's not a reflection on them. That's a reflection on you as a person. In no way is that reflecting on them, because that would apply to any person you meet. So having that mindset, I think, is a healthy, positive mindset, which is important for you to have only for your own self, so that you're actually not a miserable person. And I think it's an amazing way to approach society, is that each individual you meet, you assume that this is someone who's a good person, a quality person, has a number of qualities that are admirable, and are overall a good person, so to speak, in whatever character traits we want to label that to be. It doesn't matter their gender, their skin color, their race, whatever it is, their affluence, their schooling. You just start with an assumption, this is a good person. And then over the course of the time, some of these people, you're going to end up spending more and more time with them. And when you spend that more time with them, they tell on themselves, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, especially if it's someone you're in class with, someone you're in school with, someone who's in your circle of friends. how they react to different stories, how they handle adversity, how they talk about others, how they treat their interactions with their family, their interactions with people who have more power than them, their interactions with people who have less power, however you're defining power, less authority. And we all tell on ourselves based on how we deal with others. And what you should do is you need to look at people who are in your circle and assess who they are as people. That is different from passing judgment. You don't look down on them, but you need to be discerning. And there's a difference, a dramatic difference, because when you're passing judgment on someone, you're basically saying this is a good person, this is a bad person, and you're sort of looking at, as opposed to, which is classifying them as far as something that you're assessing for just reasons of self-satisfaction, their qualities. That's a selfish act when you sit in judgment, as opposed to discerning who it is you want to invest your time, money, relationship, feelings toward. Is this a quality person or is this not a quality person? And what I told my sons is this: you will come across people and they will tell on themselves. And often they'll be very nice to you while still being kind of a jerk to other people. And the reason they're nice to you is because they like you. And because and when they're showing that they're not a quality person, that what I'm really saying is that they have selfishness within them. And it could be a lot of different qualities, but let's focus on the selfishness versus selflessness, because we tend to associate a good person with a less good person based on their level of selfishness versus self-interest versus selflessness. It's not a perfect yardstick, but it's a really good starting point. I said, you're going to have people in your life who are going to want to be friends with you because you're fun and you're engaging. And when someone wants to have fun themselves, if I want to have fun, I want to be around other people who have similar interests who I can have fun with. This is much more fun being with other people than being by myself. So they need you in order to actually have their own fun. And they may be providing you with fun. And you're going to want to hang out with them because they're fun. And who the hell doesn't want to have fun? We all do. But you need to, at the same time, and I'm not saying, so when you see someone who's like that, you need to recognize that that's who they are. And just because they're nice to you, whatever level of jerk that they show that they can be to others, one day on a long enough timeline, and that day might be next week, next month, next year, it could be 5 years from now, I don't know. One day they will spit in your face and be the same jerk to you that they are to everyone else. But right now they need you because you're helping provide fun. And I don't want you to be surprised when you see that ugly person, because you've actually seen it over and over and over again. You just ignored it because you were having fun with them. So you need to understand that when they are being nice to you, it's not because they care about you. It's not because they care about what your situation you're going to be in 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's because it's a selfish thing that they are using you to have fun. And you can similarly, selfishly use them to have fun too. But don't for a moment make the mistake of thinking that they're a quality person, or that they're actually a good person, or that they care about you, or that they wouldn't turn on you in a heartbeat. Because you need to have that discernment to understand that that's who they are. They're a selfish person. They happen to be a fun person. I'm not telling you to cut them off. Don't cut them off. But just don't feel like this is my closest friend. This is someone I can rely on. This is my bro who I can basically go to war with. Because they're not. They only care about themselves, and they're using you because you're fun. And as soon as the crap hits the fan, they will turn on you. Because they've always been about selfishness. And in that moment, selfishness will dictate turning on you. And it's far healthier to surround yourself with people who actually are genuinely good people who do care about you as a person, your happiness 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And those are relationships you need to cultivate and savor. You can have fun as much as you want. Just it shouldn't be every day that you're having fun with someone who doesn't really care about you, and turn them into your best friend just day by day by day by day by day, because that's the only person you're spending any time with. You need to cultivate relationships with people who are quality people who actually care about your well-being, not just today or tomorrow, but where you're going to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Because that is how you get to a place where you are happy 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And if you surround yourself with people who only care about let's have fun today, and they don't give the slightest damn about you and your well-being in the long term, you will feel that misery sooner rather than later. So I'm not telling you to cut them off. I'm not telling you I have nothing to do with them. I'm not telling you who you should talk to, who you shouldn't talk to. I'm telling you to be discerning, not judgmental, but discerning, to make sure that the people you're cultivating relationships, because the only way we cultivate relationships is by spending time with people and investing that time, that the people you're actually cultivating relationships with are people who give a damn about you as a person, not you because you're giving them a good time today. Those are the relationships you need to cultivate. Now, when we look at this concept here, and then I said, I'm going to point out to you. So you start off with giving them the benefit of the doubt and assuming that they're a good person. But never mistake that initial assessment, that grace you give them, as if that is the ultimate final say about who they are. And that's a common mistake we make, is that we say, oh, well, since I met him, he was a good person, so I'm just going to leave that's what it is. Now I spent 6 months hanging out with him, so now he's proven he's a good person, because I just started with that assumption about him, and now I'm just lacing that assumption and attaching it that now he's earned it, even though if you really were being discerning, you would have seen there's no way on earth he actually earned it. So remember that it's because you gave him that grace that he started off in that place. Should you give him that grace? Yes. But should you leave him there and just assume that now that I spent time with him for 6 months and he hasn't turned on me yet, I can assume that he's actually a good person? That's crap. That is stupid. That is short-sighted. And that is a way toward that you all of a sudden say, I can't believe this person stabbed me in the back. How did that happen? I don't understand. You should have seen it. You should have recognized it when you saw him gossiping about another guy in your circle who he acts friendly to all the time. You should have seen it. There were the signs there. And recognize that when you see him doing that, this guy's kind of scummy. And I'm not going to bank my future on this person. You can still hang out with them. Just don't bank your whole future on this is the guy I'm going to war with. So similarly, now, bringing that home, why am I bringing up in this context? Because when I tell you that I genuinely believe that Nick Rekieta is going to have a redemption arc, it's because I've seen who he is as a person. I've seen not simply that he's smart and talented or whatever, but I've seen that he's actually a good and selfless person, both in how he's dealt with me personally on an individual level and how he's dealt with others. And I've seen his values. I've heard him go on and express values that any one of us should hold up as being an ideal. Not in every way, but certainly with respect to the importance of being a healthy family man, with respect to the importance of being a healthy role model, with respect to the importance of being there for your kid rather than ending up in prison. I've heard him express that in ways that few people ever have. And in ways you cannot fake. So I know where his heart and his mind are. Now he just has to have his body follow through on that. So these are all the reasons I really believe he will break from the trend of people who try to go on redemption arc and never quite do it. And the fact that I believe that he will is grace that he has earned, and part of the fact that I'm a person who tries to give grace to people. That's different from me actually banking on that happening. The same way when I meet someone, I give him grace, and that's different from me banking that definitely this is really true. This is 100% going to happen. And is it possible that despite the fact that I really believe that's what's going to happen for him, that I'm wrong, and then I'll look back a year from now and look at this video and be like, oh, wow, I got that one 100% wrong. Is that possible? Of course it is. Of course it is. Will I be remotely embarrassed by what I'm saying tonight? based on what I look back on May 25th, 2025, and look back and see what happened to him. And if I see that I was completely wrong tonight, will I be remotely embarrassed? Hell no, not at all. Because I'm telling you why it is I believe in him, and why it is I'm pulling for him, and why it is that I believe that he's why I know he's a good person, and why I know he has the capacity to do it. That doesn't mean he'll come through. That doesn't mean he will. But my belief in him, he's earned that belief in him, and if he disappoints, which unfortunately that happens, the person that ultimately is disappointed is not me then. The person he's ultimately disappointing in that scenario is himself. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I mean, I pray that doesn't happen. But there's no embarrassment in the fact that I say, I believed in this person. There's a difference between giving that grace and saying, I promise you this is what's going to happen. Those are two different things. Same way when you meet someone, there's a difference in believing them versus knowing that they're actually a good person. It's the exact same thing. Anyway. I thank you for the memberships. I can't do the whole good Lawgic thing tonight. Tonight's too serious a show for me to actually do the whole following. You all know it's not at all a cult type of cult. I'm not going to do this. I appreciate the gifting, I really do, but I can't do it tonight. So welcome to the following, Ryan the Scar. Welcome aboard. A whole bunch of other chats that I had to sort of work through here. Should the elite only have the Hegelian dialectic to themselves? All right, now you're too well versed in literature for me to, or history, for me to respond to that one. Unsung hero, calm down, Karen. Child abusing is a wild accusation. Can't stand all you who think Nick owes you something. It's none of your business. I don't even know what the whole child abuse thing is. I don't know what that is. I'm not assuming anything of the kind on that. Wise and true words are wise and true, even if spoken by a fool. Yep, that was my point. The measure of ability is performance. Nick seems a mess. I hope he gets help. Can't argue with anything you wrote there. Basking in Nick's downfall, monetizing the destruction of his family is not just spiteful and vindictive. It's more fundamentally immoral than any mistake that Nick himself has made. Good on you for being a real friend. I agree with. I can't tell you. It got me so angry when I see people. It got me really angry. It got me annoyed. Got me really annoyed. The wounded healer. Yep. I've seen some cope, but this is 26 grams of cope. Oh well. There you go. I'm sure you're a very happy person. I'm sure you have a very, very happy life on Hung Hero. anyone who hears cope in my voice is kind of, I'm like, yeah, okay, you nailed it. What bothers me is the ones talking about redemption arc. This isn't a Marvel movie. This is people's lives. Yeah, well, I think it is. I think redemption arc is the only terminology we can think of that actually we're hoping for. Thank you for the super sticker, Trisha. Week or so ago, he mentioned a friend having terminal stomach cancer and would leave kids behind. I assumed he was talking about himself. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's this. I have no reason to think that. Personal life aside, he went from not swearing on camera to being a good example for his kids to profane, debauched, degrading, degenerate, and lazy. I owe him nothing. It's his job to win me back. Oh, as far as you supporting him, I'm not telling you to support him. I'm not telling you even to watch him. That doesn't mean you can't privately cheer and hope that things work out for him. Right? I'm not telling you to give him money. I'm not telling him that you should watch his show. I'm simply saying, like, this basking in him fighting demons is, I don't know who that's helping. Like, who is that helping? Does that make if that's what makes you happy, you should really ask, why is that making, just self-assess. Why would that make me happy? You want to tell me you don't want to watch him because you think you have this type of perspective of him or what? All right. not a Nick commercial. Let he was without sin cast first. Stone the drivers who are hoping and praying for Nick and his family. Amen. Let him who's without sin cast first. There's no sinless people. People need to how do you, two people writing the same thing back to back. There are no sinless people. People need to check their own sin and leave room for God's mercy and grace because they will need it one day themselves. That's true. Patrick Allen, given that public funded a certain persona that was exposed as false, yeah, he needs to own it publicly. Interesting. Given that the public funded a certain persona that was exposed as false, yeah, he needs to own it publicly. So what does that mean? The public funded. Like the people who were contributing on super chats or something like that. Like who's the public that was wounded? I'm just wondering. I don't understand this. I don't know. It's also bloody sad. Praying for all concerned. Big ups to you for supporting your friend that has helped Nick in his recovery and redemption. I hope so. Starts at 35.29. Oh, you're talking about the freeform for 35.29. How long is it? 35.29. Maybe we'll watch some of it. We'll see. I have it set. I have it queued. See? Look at this. Just so you know that I take you seriously. You say 35.29. There you go. Look. See? I'm all queued up here. 35.29. So I get a chance. We'll see. Adept Gopnik says, I can't help but wonder what was happening in the house between the cops first trying to get in and knocking down the door. How much was flushed? The cops say that he was outside. So he didn't flush anything, that's for sure. But according to the report, and we'll look at the report soon. I didn't expect this to be. Good night, Joe. I'm hopeful Nick will accept help. It's always darkest before dawn. I'll be praying for Nick and his family. Me too. Barnes Untold Story 35.29 this Friday. How long is it? It seems clear that his channel slowed down, so he got arrested and his parents broadcast his own Rittenhouse case. Respect the... That would be amazing. I don't know how he would do that. That's a tough one to do. John McGarvey gifting 5. Good Lawgic memberships. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Joe, I've been sober for 20 years. You have no idea how addiction works. I know it doesn't go away. I know that. That's what you're saying. Legendary shout out from Walsh, Gratz brother. Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I guess people still understand how the media can manipulate the truth. That they can. Joe, if you can hold down vaping for 72 hours, then the rest is all in your head. Nicotine is the hardest addiction to kick, but alcohol will kill you. Hypocrisy is the tribute vice pays to virtue. That's the tribute vice pays to virtue. That I understand better. Meaning hypocrisy only exists in the face of goodness. Hypocrisy is only absent in total shamelessness. That I understand. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Snuffles, for clarifying that. I think Joe might be judging Sean based on his guests. Sean was respectful. He let his guests express their opinion. Doesn't mean that was Sean's opinion. Nick deserves criticism, not the vitriol. The joy that people are having in this situation is really disgusting. Amen, Tankrat. Amen. It really is. Money is a hell of a drug. Nick had a windfall from in-house and debt, then had to keep up with grind the daily streaming to keep income up, plus married young 5 kids quickly, never sowed wild oats. See, this is all speculative. The only one who knows why Nick ended up where Nick ended up last week is Nick. Could be. I understand the logic of what you're saying here. You know, a lot of people talk about the Monty lawsuits and the money that burned through. And he also dealt with a whirlwind of hate that was just unrelenting. There's a lot of different things that he's dealing with. People just assume, oh yeah, he made his nut and then just like decide, now I can afford to buy world-class drugs. I don't think that's necessarily. Well, it's all speculative. Always speculative. Nick activated a lot of us to get involved. I wouldn't have got to collab with Joe without Nick. That's true. That said, he's focused on family, not fame and opulence. Oh, I agree with you. The reason people are assuming he's going to come back to streaming and streaming what he's doing is because A, he's really good at it. B, that's where he makes his money, right? Is by streaming. So, yeah. I have an alcohol problem, but looking back last 3-4 months as well, he French kissed the demon. I think he'll be back. No kids possible, but prayers up. Amen. Prayers. I call either to cuck or appeal to hypocrisy fallacy. I'm about 10 minutes behind. It is called, that's how it's spelled, and it's pronounced a cock, I believe. I'm almost positive about that. I didn't make that up. I wouldn't make that up. He's just been given a quarter hour to go cold turkey, not safe to do so. He likely feels withdrawal now. Oh, I'm sure he does. Starry Anderson. Am I crazy? I keep getting hung up on the wording of where the alleged bag of coke says next to nightstand with 2 of April's credit cards. That just sounds odd. That is weird. I don't know. I'm going to look at the charges with you all soon. Joe, tell us how you feel when you skip nicotine for a day. Multiply that pain by 10. That is alcohol withdrawal. Another 10 times more for cocaine withdrawal. Nick deserves our compassion. It's a medical problem. Yeah, some people say nicotine is harder. And I go a day every week without nicotine. So, yeah. Although the last couple of years I've been using lozenges on Sabbath, but I'm not allowed to smoke or use vape from Friday for 25 hours from sundown Friday till Saturday night. Addiction is a chain that freedom forges for itself. Blessings can provide the tools and venue to undo all we work for. I've been there, and it's harder to rise up a second time, but worth it. I have the utmost confidence. This may be an unpopular take, but God bless Nick's pastor. It takes courage to make that kind of call to someone you care about. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he thought he was doing the right thing, and perhaps it was. April used the Rekieta as clear as day. Kick April and her ex, or this crap show will continue. I'm so mad at her for bringing this to a family home. I do think that I don't know enough about the situation. I'm not going to weigh in on that. Joe, the talk you gave your kids, you may want to listen to. I assume that this is a dig at Nick and the fact that I'm friends with Nick. And what I'm saying is, I know Nick is a good person. I've seen it over and over again. He is a quality person. That doesn't mean he's without flaw. Doesn't mean that he hasn't made terrible choices. Terrible choices. He likely has. I don't know that he has, but I can recognize that the chances seem very high that he has. That's different. That's different from people who are genuinely self-interested. Nick's gonna leave and be the best pastor ever. Peace. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. He tried to tell me when my dog was killed against his better judgment. I'll be for Nick's recovery, even though the situation is so scuffled. It's not a cult, but you're a man of culture. Thanks for being a voice of reason. You're welcome. I'm 100% privately cheering for him. No basking here. Well, that's cool. Okay. That's fine. That I get. You tell me that you don't want to go back and watch his show until, he strains himself out, whatever. I get that. What I'm saying is I that's fine. Nick has been the only YouTuber I've reached out to that's actually tried to help me with my Give, Send, Go. He always tries to help everyone he can. I know. He really does. That's why I say, this is Patrick Allen saying that, I may want to take that advice, implying that Nick is like a genuinely bad person. Like, who have you seen him ever turn on from his friends? I pasted Meg's link to local. I love watching. Oh, thank you so much. You did? You pasted her link? Yeah, her link. But is it the? I want to know where she got the whole thing. Oh, where that woman's voice is, because there's no woman talking there. Some woman did a voiceover of my stream, and that's what I want to see the whole thing. I'm mad the vultures reveling in misery. They make me sick to my stomach. I think, and they make themselves sick to their stomachs. It's like if you're finding some sort of joy out of this story, you gotta really self-assess. It's like, really, how is this making your life better? Like, really, what part of your life is better because of this set of circumstances? The physical decline of both him and his wife was horrifying to watch. So was the mental decline, but it's hard for me to feel for anyone but the kids. Okay, I get that. I understand that. I'm not saying you should feel bad for Nick Rekieta. I never said anyone should feel bad for him. I'm simply saying to root for him to get better. I never once implied that anyone should feel bad for him. Be honest, Nick dug his grave, the kids suffer. Oh, and I'll tell you, assuming that it's really true, I do think that's a selfishness. Assuming these charges are largely true, which we're about to go over them in a minute. Yeah. I do think it's a selfishness. But that's not a selfishness he needs to answer to me for, or to you. The only one responsible for what happened to Nick is Nick. The receipts are all out there and prove it. You need to be done the cops close to this. You need to be done the cops close to this degeneracy. Done the cops close means to give the benefit of the doubt. That's a Hebrew phrase for giving the benefit of the doubt. And what I'm saying is, I don't know what happened. I know what everyone else sees. I can recognize that it looks like someone who made some terrible, terrible choices. Yeah, can't argue with that. I'm simply saying it's the crime. The offense is not against me or against you. So many people excited by the idea of being. There's from Dr. Chops. So many people excited by the idea of being able to take moral superiority of Nick Rekieta. Nick will feel this pain, grind through, and move on gracefully. He's a good man. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that's kind of echoing what I was saying. New Star says Pope is probably pissed he's missing out on this grift. His family gets straight out of this crowd quickly. No public apologies necessary. Get back to work, you sorry bastard. Whatever it takes. Agree with that. He is mad he's missing out on this grift. Joe, thanks for being a real friend. To be needs guys like you. Gosney, this is Hunter Brooks. Gosney and Vices right now. Gosney and Vices are great also. I had a parent with similar issues, and the damage that can be done is immense. I hope he comes back. We all do. We all do. While you're here, if you can like and subscribe, that'd be actually pretty cool. I want to go through the charges first before I look at what Robert Barnes had to say. I want to go through the charges a little bit and talk about what it is that he's dealing with, the consequences that he's dealing with, because I think that they can be a little scary. Certainly reasons to have concerns. So the way I'm going to do this, I was trying to pull up the actual charges. Apparently, he was struck with a second degree. We all thought it was drug possession in the 5th degree, but when they read off the charges, it was in the 2nd degree, which is far more serious. Far more serious. Everyone knows that the charges claim that there's 26.7 grams, including packaging, which obviously packaging starts becoming an important factor when one considers that the threshold of 25 grams dramatically increases the nature of the offense. And the best analogy I can give, it's almost like when a cop tells you, you were doing 67 in a 65 zone, but instead of that, the little 67 they don't care about. It's usually like 14 miles over, so that'd be like when they say you're doing 70 in a 55 zone, and there's a massive cutoff of from 1 to 14 miles, and the 15 miles you happen to be right at that 15-mile level, you're not at 69. No, you're definitely at 70. So now it's like a way more serious offense. So you're like, yeah, okay. I don't know. It's possible that there really is 26.7, but it's with packaging. Anyhow, And we can see the difference in the level of charge right here in the Minnesota statute. So, second, controlled substance in the second degree, which is what the judge said he was charged with, refers to possession. A person is guilty of controlled substance crime in the second degree if the person unlawfully possesses one or more mixtures of total weight of 25 grams or more containing cocaine or methamphetamine. And like I said, they charge him, they claim that he has 26.7, including packaging, and that the penalty for that is a person convicted on subdivision 1 or 2 may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 25 years or to payment of a fine of not more than $500,000 or both. Is that what Nick is actually facing? 25 years? Answer, probably doesn't. It seems like he's facing potentially, if convicted, far less than 25 years, fortunately. And I know that there are other smaller crimes that he's charged with, but I don't believe that they're felonies. I think they're misdemeanors. If we look over at the Minnesota drug offender grid that they have, and we assume that he has a score of 0 or 1, and I am aware that within the past 12 months, he got hit with a charge. Hold the right thing here. He was convicted. Is that it? No, that's not it. That's not the one I wanted. I apologize. Let me see if I can find it here or not. Nope, that's not it. I saw that he got hit. He was convicted of speeding, and he got a misdemeanor for that. I don't know that that would have any impact on his criminal history score. Cannot imagine it would have more than an impact of pushing him to 1. When we look at this chart here, make this a little bigger. So we see there's a presumptive sentence lengths are in months. Italicized numbers within the grid denotes range within which a court may sentence without the sentence being deemed a departure. Offenders with stayed felony sentences may be subjected to local confinement. So, controlled substance crime, second degree. If it's a 0, he would have recommended sentence of presumptive sentence of 48 months. If he's bumped up to level 1, that would be 58 months. When we're in the gray zone, as you see, this is the zone that he falls in either way. And even if he gets it under 26, by the way, let's say he can establish that no, your scales were wrong, and it was really 23 grams. So in that case, it would fall down to controlled substance third degree. And those have a recommended sentence of 21 to 27 months. That's obviously half the time. That's a considerable jump. It's a recommended sentence, which when you have a sentence of 21 months, be less than a year overall in jail, prison, whichever. But the interesting thing about the gray zone, that seems like he is likely to be a judge to be in, is that a presumptive sentence, stayed sentence, at the discretion of court, up to 364 days of confinement and other non-jail sanctions can be imposed as conditions of probation. However, certain offenses in the shade area of the grid always carry a presumptive commitment to state prison. See sections 2C and 2E. There's 2C and 2E. I don't see that. Let me see that. I don't see it. I see D9. Oh, it's in the 2C and 2E. I don't think those relate here. Anyhow, so it is possible that if the judge, assuming he's found guilty, assuming he can't beat these charges completely, which is possible, that is an assumption of innocence until proven guilty, so that he's looking potentially at getting no jail time. You would think that he has, there's a lot of arguments that can be made in his favor for a judge who is looking to judge this fairly, such as the fact that he's done he's worked as a teacher in teaching con law, his work in general upstanding citizen, And if he actually were to engage in rehab, you would think that would be something that a court might take note of as far as trying to figure out what would be an appropriate situation for him. Some people have expressed concern that apparently this case is assigned to Judge Fisher, who I don't know this to be true, but I did hear from several people. I heard different people talking about this. That Judge Fisher is a judge in the case, in the Montegraph case that he's engaged in, who he may have had some unkind words for her. That's a little disconcerting. As far as looking for clemency from a judge that you've been potentially aggressive in your comments on. I haven't seen him say anything of that nature, but I have heard that, and I want to just share that informationally with those of you who are trying to get a better grip on the overall Nick Rekieta situation. Now, the charges that everyone's seen the statement of probable cause, or many people have. I'm going to read this off without too much commentary, but I do think that people want to know how these, what the statement of probable cause looks like. So for those of you who have not yet seen it, I will read through this. And what it says is, the complainant states that the following states establish probable cause. Your complainant, a licensed peace officer, is employed by the Kandiyohi, I don't know, County Sheriff's Office. In this capacity, your complainant believes the following to be true and correct. On May 23rd, 2024, at approximately 9:13 a.m., a search warrant was executed at 1229 15291 Street in Spicer, Kandiyohi County, Minnesota. Nicholas Robert Rekieta, born 12/16/81. Kayla Christine Rekieta, born March 9th, 84. Reside at the residence. As law enforcement approached the residence, Nicholas Rekieta was traveling southbound on 51st in a vehicle. So apparently he had been out and he was returning to his home. Rekieta was stopped by law enforcement. Upon knocking on the door, a juvenile female opened the door and wouldn't let them in. Good girl. Well trained. Nicholas Rekieta would not provide the door code to enter the residence. So I guess she opened the door, saw them, and then closed and locked the door because they need a door code. That's what I'm assuming happened here. So he refused to give the door code, which seems to be the right move, because you don't want to do anything to show consent to search, because then, if in fact the search warrant, there's a flaw in the search warrant, then all the fruits of that could be tossed as an illegal search. So since he doesn't know certainly at this stage, whether the search warrant is proper or if there's some sort of problem with the search warrant, so refusing to give any form of consent by opening the door for them and having that be interpreted as consent, which courts can be very lax and very, very broad in their interpretation as to what's consent, and him saying, I'm not letting you in, and I'm not giving you the door code, and I don't want you coming in here, is being very clear that even though I'm here in a capacity to give you a access, that he would not give it. Law enforcement entered the home utilizing a door ram, making it very clear, no consent. It's probably worth the cost of the door for the opportunity to have these charges dismissed because of a flaw in the search warrant. So, cost of a door, well worth the expense. Upon entry, law enforcement located Kayla Rekieta and April Imholt, 4 juveniles who were also in the home. Officers know the home was extremely cluttered. There were clothes everywhere, dirty dishes, dust, and overall dirty home. This is editorializing by the police officers. You would think that's not an uncommon form of editorializing in order to basically try and establish their claims of neglect that they know they're going to make later in this charge. Nicholas Rekieta, so we don't know how accurate that is. It's obviously a subjective take. Nicholas Rekieta returned to the home with law enforcement. He demanded a copy of search warrant. When given a copy, he looked at it and threw it on the ground. We can all picture it. During the search, the law enforcement located the following in the master bedroom. The following items were located in the master bedroom near the nightstand: Yellow snort tube, positive for cocaine. Black vial with white substance inside that field tested positive for cocaine and weighed 2.2 grams. So again, question is, how heavy is the vial itself? Credit cards listed to, like, the the vial itself could be, a gram and a half. 2 credit cards listed to April Imholt. .22 caliber spent shell casings on the floor. 2 .22 caliber spent shell casings on the floor of the nightstand in the master bedroom. The following item was located underneath the bed in the master bedroom. There's a Sig Sauer AR, several magazines, and loose ammunition, serial number 20G002638. The following item was located in the master bedroom. Whoops. Sorry about that. Master bedroom dresser, glass container with metal filter and grinder, and glass container that field test positive for cocaine. Following items were located in a safe in the master bedroom. Bag with cards and dollar bill that field tested positive for cocaine. Large corner cut baggie with white powder that field tested positive for cocaine and weighed 18.96 grams. So it seems to be the majority of the alleged stash with packaging. 3 small baggies that field tested positive for cocaine and weigh 5.49 grams with packaging. 8 green colored tablets that field tested positive for ketamine. Digital scale that field tested positive for cocaine. Metal pan with white powder on it that tested positive for cocaine. 2 snort tubes and 2 metal cutters. The snort tubes tested positive for cocaine. All right, that's page 1 of the statement of probable cause. We get to page 2. Following items were located in a safe in the master bedroom closet. A $100 bill with white powder residue that field tested positive for cocaine. Bindle white bag with white powder substance that field tested positive for cocaine. Cocaine scooper. 2 baggies with a baggie within a baggie with a funnel and unknown brown substance. Additional firearms and ammunition were located in the garage. The total amount of measurable cocaine in the master bedroom was 26.67 grams with packaging. Cocaine is a Schedule 2 controlled substance. Ketamine is Schedule 1 controlled substance. Detective Pomplun met with Nicholas Rekieta outside the residence. He was read his Miranda rights, and he agreed to speak with officers without counsel. Nicholas Rekieta indicated that he sleeps in the master bedroom with Kayla Rekieta. He indicated that April Imholt was at the home visiting. Nicholas Rekieta and Kayla Rekieta were placed under arrest. While being under arrest, Detective Pomplun noted several injuries to the arms of Nicholas Rekieta that appear consistent with sores that are common with controlled substance users. I assume these are, they're going to claim as needle holes or something of that nature. They were transported to the Kandiyohi County Jail. Kayla Rekieta did not speak with officers. At the Kandiyohi County Jail, Nicholas Rekieta was again read his Miranda rights and agreed to speak with officers without an attorney. Interesting. Nicholas Rekieta refused to answer any questions regarding cocaine or other controlled substance use. Nicholas Rekieta indicates that he lives in the residence. He stays in the master bedroom with his wife, Kayla Rekieta. April Imholt was a friend who was visiting and does not live at the residence. While being booked into the jail, Kayla Rekieta requested that her prescription medication be brought to her. Upon reviewing the prescription bottles for Kayla Rekieta that were brought to the jail staff found 2 unknown pills and gummies in one of the prescription bottles. These items did not match the prescription on the bottle. Please take notice, pursuant to Minnesota Statute 609.49, intentional failure to appear for daily scheduled court appearances may result in additional crime charges in addition to any arrest warrants. So there you go. There you go. It's not something anyone listening ever hope to read on air here. So those are the charges. I know that the court gave him a date of August 20th. I don't know if we don't know what the story of how this thing will resolve. And obviously, Nick is not going to be at liberty to talk about I don't know how much liberty he's going to feel to talk about these charges on the air. Yeah. That is the story, though. That is the story. If you think he's a good person, watch Dear John. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. The only cult is the cadre of drama-obsessed bottom feeders who gleefully hang onto every detail of internet scandals like the paparazzi girls of old, only because it makes them feel better about how hollow and empty their own pathetic lives are. Yep. It's so gross. It's just vultures. Just vultures. Oh my. Matt Skinner hit me with another 20. The king of recruitment coming in with another 20. God bless you, brother. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you. He helped me when I had brain surgery. I was scared. He's helped. How many people has he helped? This is why the cadre of this is why the vultures are so aggravating. Like, I understand they're disappointed that they feel like he let them down or that he was a hypocrite. He failed to live up to the ideals he espoused. I get it. I understand it. And I've sort of thought a lot about this whole concept of Nick Rekieta, the role model. Like, I'm sure he never said I'm a role model. I'm positive he never said that. I haven't gone through every show he's ever done. I'm positive he's never said I'm a role model. I cannot deny the fact that I understand why people took him as a role model. I understand this. I get it. I get that some of the people who turn on him, perhaps the majority of those who turned on him, looked at him as, you're coming to us and you're espousing these high ideals, and you're full of crap because you're not living up to them yourself. So you're sitting here preaching as to what people should do, and you're basically full of crap. And I believed in you and I trusted you, and you broke my heart because you're full of crap. And the speed with which some people turned on him when they saw him doing one thing or another that they didn't like was kind of surprising. And I think that some people perhaps were speaking in good faith, that they actually felt let down. I think others were motivated by the ugliness that are referenced here by Jeffrey. In other words, I think what we saw, let's go back before last week, okay? Let's go back 8 days ago. And the different things that we saw as far as how the public looked at Nick Rekieta before that ugly stream and the terrible moment he had on camera, before the arrests. And let's assess the hate that he got, which was, if people turned on him and felt hurt by him, I can understand that. I get that. It's an interesting question. That's why I said, over an hour ago, I can understand people feeling like, if you're espousing to me role models and you're so compelling in the way you can give it over, for you to fail to live up to those ideals in ways that I anticipate that you must be in order to espousing it so profoundly, so with such resounding conviction, that what are you, a con artist? Like, how are you managing to say this and then not live up to it? I can understand someone having that feeling. If someone had that feeling and that was their motivation, they might say, F him, I'm done with him. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't believe him. I can't believe that, whatever. That's how they would react. I don't understand why that would be something that they would just compulsively just keep attacking, come back and attack more, come back and attack more, come back and attack more. If someone had a healthy mindset and they actually said, you know what, he disappointed me, F him, what you do is then you move on. And you say, I'm done with you. And yeah, that reaction, totally understand. The ones who are just saying, let me make this my new career, as far as following and dogging him, it's like, why? Where? How is that? Who? Like, it's such a stronger reflection on underlying issues within. It's just such a, I don't understand it. It's like it reflects misery in your own life, that I'm going to sit here and feel better about myself by hating on this other person. And it's like the paparazzi. I can't. It's so ugly. It's so ugly. And I know that, I'll tell you right now, I know I'm going to get hate for this. A lot of you are going to sit here agreeing with me, and I know that there's going to be a certain percentage that are going to hate me. I don't care. Do what you're going to do. At the end of the day, look within yourself. Look within yourself. Find happiness. Find happy things to make you happy. That's really where I'm coming from. Find good things to make you happy. I don't know. Find good things to make you happy. And try to surround yourself with those who find good things to make them happy. That's another thing I would recommend. That's certainly something I would tell my kids. How is the coverage of Nick different than your coverage of Hunter Biden, Pelosi, and countless other stories you've gleefully covered? What's off limits? Well, that's an interesting question. See, this is a fair question. This is a fair question. How is your coverage of Nick different than your coverage of Hunter Biden, Pelosi, and countless other stories you've gleefully covered? Okay. When I'm covering Hunter Biden, when I'm covering Pelosi, I'm covering their routine lies or their different scandals that they're engaged in. These are people. First of all, I don't cover Hunter Biden very much in general because I think he's relatively insignificant. Nancy Pelosi retains her significance because she's a political leader, so she retains her significance. In other words, she's impacting. So when she displays how many warts she has or how corrupt she is, she's having an impact on America. So I'm calling attention to that. You don't see very much of me talking about Hunter Biden. It's not like it's a fixation of mine. So yeah, if I'll and I don't sit there harping on the same person over and over and over and over again. It's like, why? Seriously. I'm assuming you're asking this in fairness, like genuinely trying to understand my rationale as to what makes it different. And what I'm saying is, if we're talking about political leaders, then yeah, I think that they are people who are influencing our lives. And they're choosing to basically say that I'm going to have this influence, whether you want me to or not. In other words, I'm elected in this jurisdiction. I'm here now. You're stuck with me. Deal with me. So I'm going to call attention to just how terrible they are. So yeah, I'll hate on President Biden over and over again. Because yeah, that guy has a dramatic influence on our lives. I'm going to try and expose that because it's having an influence on your life. But I think you should have, and to the extent that Hunter Biden ties into that, so that's where I'll talk about it. You don't hear me, or to the extent that it reveals stuff about President Biden, that's where you'll hear me talk about it. But you don't really hear me talking very much about Hunter Biden and his, stripper life or whatever, because I'm like, to me, that's just, I understand some people get off on that. That's just not been my thing. I agree with you, Kathy. I think that rehab would help a lot. You would think it would have a very impactful with a judge. That it's like, okay, he's recognizing his mistakes, and we're gonna try and help him get on the right path. You would hope so. I agree with you. I would look. I'm not a defense attorney. I've never defended anyone from a drug charge or anything of that nature. I'm simply saying you would think that would have a very strong impact on whatever sentencing he's ultimately facing. So that certainly makes sense to me as well. If for no other reason, this is my time to ask you all and point out to you, I am pounding closer and closer and closer to 100,000 subs. I walked into this stream at 97.2. There's 5,500 of you watching right now. I don't know how many of you are on YouTube. It's hard for me to tell that. But yeah, if you're on locals, if you're on Rumble, if you're on YouTube, and you can hit the like and subscribe, I would be listen to the cartoon. Cartoon knows what he's talking about. He's a smart guy. He's a very smart guy. I just graduated law school. I should get rid of this thing. I just graduated law school and have seen plenty of drug cases. The packaging has always been included and not allowed to be challenged. I'm afraid the scale and prepackaged baggies can make possession with intent. You're saying intent to distribute, hoping for the best. It's possible. It's possible. I don't know. You might know more about it than I do. I'm not claiming to be the expert in that. I think next court case will be like a Jewish curse: may all your teeth fall out except one, so you can have a toothache, Miss Sugar. that is. I did read that a long time ago. You're now the only person I've ever super chat besides Nick. Keep up the good work, Joe. You are my favorite living Jew. I appreciate the support. Thank you, Doug. Thank you very much. Joe, you once did a show on Grace some years ago. This situation makes me think of that. Let's not forget Grace here, or else we're all... Yeah. It's a good thing. The reason to give grace is not for the person who's the beneficiary. It's for yourself. That's really why. It's really for yourself. So we don't all become black. We don't all get black in the hearts. 100%. Matt Shepard, hit me with a fitty. Nick isn't in the lawmaking business. That does make him dramatically different from Nancy Pelosi. I agree with you completely on that. Completely. Paul Pelosi, you covered the non-political story and laughed at him. How is that different than covering Nick? How do you have the moral high ground? And I'll tell you right now, I did cover that story because I thought the entire thing was a scam. I thought the entire thing was a political scam. And that's how I covered it. I said, think of how ridiculous this entire thing is. I didn't spend very much time talking about the allegations that he was involved in some sort of gay sex thing or in some gay sex club or something like that. Go back and watch. You'll see. I basically said, I think this whole thing is made up. None of this is making any sense at all. That's how I covered it. And I'm not claiming moral high ground, and I'm not claiming I'm perfect. But you sure as hell don't see me railing against the same person day after day, video after video. So yeah, I'm not saying I've never enjoyed having a laugh at someone. Yeah, I definitely have. Sure, you can find videos like that. I'm sure you can. That's different than making one person the target of my ire, who's like not having any influence on anyone's lives other than those who are watching him. Tell me who it is that you think I've unfairly assaulted, or I've gone after like relentlessly. Yeah, I've had different spats with, let's say, different creators from time to time. Right? There was that Dr. K person who came on my show once. I had a little tiff back and forth. Obviously, I don't have a very high opinion of her. You ever hear me talk about her ever since then? Or whatever struggles she's having? No. Even though I don't really like her. Even though she was kind of rude to me. She's kind of a jerk. You don't see me like going back and forth. let me get her again. Oh my God. Oh, look at this embarrassing moment of hers. Oh, let's get a moment where she looks gross on camera so I can share that with you and snicker at it. No, I don't do that. No one's ever seen me do that. Yeah, well, I'm in the middle of like a whole thing with her, so I was like, I spent a day going after her, and I'm done. You move on to the next topic. Not like, okay, no, let's go back to this YouTuber who I have a group of people who hate, and I'm just gonna just feed that. I don't think I think your analogy here is ridiculous. Joe, you should talk to the quartering and have a daytime session with him. You could probably pick up a lot of subs. BC High Priest. Yeah. After I appeared on stream with him, he actually was very gentlemanly. He was very complimentary to me afterwards. Maybe I'll do a daytime stream with him. I don't think he's a bad person at all. I think he's a good person. I think he puts out a lot of great content. So. Where was I? Should we check out this thing here? Should we check out that video as far as Robert Barnes? I can spend a few minutes looking at that. She really wants me to check that out. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Where was it? No, it's not here. It's different. It's a different tab. I'm not going to spend like an hour watching this because there's like another hour and a half left in this video. But Kimmy, who I like and respect, asked me to check this out, so we'll watch a few minutes of it.
In our world, now, Mark, I know you're not as deep into LawTube, obviously, but you do know Nick Rekieta, I believe. Nick has come on, like when our channel got nuked, he was one of the people who came on.
And I want to just pause and say this about Robert Barnes. Out of everyone on LawTube, this guy has probably pumped up my Good Lawgic versus Mershon lawsuit more than anyone. Like someone shared on Sky News that he mentioned me. He's constantly putting out about how I'm trying desperately to get Trump ungagged in the New York case, and I have a pending action against Judge Mershon where I sued Judge Mershon because his unconstitutional gag order violates my freedom of press, and how I've brought an attorney on to help me with this. And if you have and then I plan on going all the way to Supreme Court on this, because ultimately I want to overturn that DC Circuit Court decision, which is a terrible decision. And this is much less, this is not about me. It's not about my channel or Good Lawgic. It's not about Donald Trump. This is a matter that criminal defendants are going to be gagged regularly if this is allowed to stand. They're going to be gagged regularly because this is terrible decision, which basically says that there's a court interest in the fair administration of justice, which now all of a sudden means we can just ignore the First Amendment. You can literally say that in any circumstance.
But I also think it's kind of important with you, and I'm sure Buns would agree, that you work with addiction quite a bit. And I think that we are seeing somebody suffering from addiction that has literally turned his world upside down.
And making horrendous decisions, including.
Oh, but I just want to pause, by the way, just to make that point, right? So that decision against Trump, that he can be gagged, theoretically, the judge could say, I need to gag Nick Rekieta from talking about this case or the police officers or anything like that, because I'm afraid that people are going to make harassing phone calls and they're going to harass the prosecutor, and I don't want that to happen because he has fans, so let's gag him. And he can't talk about this trial if he's so inclined. Like, it's just Why not? Why would they not be able to say that?
Including really, really stupid legal decisions that, like he made today. He's in complete denial. And when I saw it, because originally I wasn't going to say a lot, Nick was a stand-up guy during Rittenhouse. He's a stand-up guy for a lot of people. People get into personal problems. That's their business. Generally, that's my view on things. But when I saw him, doing two things. One, when I saw what drugs were combined potentially involved, then he's risking his life. He's lucky not to be dead, to be frank about it. And then the second part was when I saw him today at the arraignment, I was like, oh, he's making suicidal legal decisions.
He's defending himself, Bob, or what's
not
going
only
on?
that,
he's trying to defend his wife, and
he's not going to be defending his wife. He's not going to be defending himself. As the arraignment, he's not going to be defending. He's not going to be defending his wife or himself. I'll tell you right now, that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, he's not going to end up defending his wife. The court would never allow him to defend his wife. That's not, because that creates a conflict of interest, which is almost certainly unwaivable. Even if she says, I want him to defend me, it's unlikely the court will say okay to that they're allowed that I'm waiving the conflict of interest. It's unlikely that she has the power to waive that, because there's a concern that normally defendants would be pointing the fingers at each other to try and exonerate themselves in the eyes of the law. How can you point your finger at your husband who's your attorney? So their interests may overlap to some degree, but they also are in conflict with each other. So there's no way that, if he tried representing her on, an ongoing basis beyond the arraignment, I'm telling you right now, he probably gets suspended for that. Those of you who have concerns about him losing his license, I said I would address this the other day, and I didn't. I said I was going to talk about the jeopardy to his law license, which I know he doesn't really practice law in a courtroom so much, so you might think it has no impact on him. I will share this. What I saw, I pulled up bar discipline, and I'll see if I can pull it up real quick here. Let me see if I can find that. It's gonna be hard for me to find. Give me a moment. Let me see if I can find that, because I do want to pull. I said I would share this on Thursday, and I forgot. I started talking about something else, and I got sidelined. Let me see if I can find it here for you. So I want you to see what I saw, which basically implied to me. This is not it. Is this it? But I don't think he's in license of having he's in jeopardy of having his license of being disbarred. It seems unlikely he'll be disbarred, even if convicted. What I saw was that in 2022, and this surprised me, was that for non-lawyer related offenses, unless there's a crime of fraud, where there's a concern you're going to be ripping off your clients, even if you haven't done it yet, but drug related offenses in 2022, they had like a list of all the people been disbarred and all the people been suspended, and all the people convicted of drugs, all of them were suspended. Now, I don't know how long those suspensions were, but they're suspended, not disbarred. So I think he's far more imperiled for having, if he gets convicted, for having his license suspended rather than being disbarred based on that. Oh my gosh, I lost this. Let's get back into this.
The other complainant who had already been released, and correct me if I'm wrong, Barnes, it's ringing bells in my head that she flipped. That they probably already have her to testify against them being in the house.
Well, this is a simple. He knows this as well as anybody. That's what.
Wait. Fill me in here. I don't know anything about this except. He was arrested for what charge?
He was arrested for. He was originally arrested for 2 charges. They upped it to 3 charges at the arraignment. So he's now facing charges for first degree drug possession over 25 grams.
That's a mistake.
Cocaine, along with
ketamine.
Along with ketamine and an unidentified brown
collectively 26 grams.
Then having a gun next to drugs. Basically, there's Second Amendment issues with that under Bruin, but
and
that's
child endangerment,
and then child endangerment. Those two are misdemeanors. The top count is the problematic one in Minnesota law. That count up to a 30-year sentence. The bigger problem is that even for first offenders, the recommended sentencing guideline is 5.5 years in prison. So he, his wife, and the other woman.
Wait a second. What's with the wife and the other woman? Are they all?
They were all
together?
three charged with all of them.
And how were they apprehended?
At the house.
It was a welfare check. Apparently, his pastor is required by law. They have to turn in people, and I guess the pastor filed a police report on May 16th, and the cops went to do the welfare check today. They got a hold of Nick. He was driving in his car, and
honestly, I think most of us were surprised to learn it was the pastor that called the authorities rather than some hater after the Monday stream, right? I think that everyone assumed when they heard he was arrested, like, oh, it must have been the Monday stream. To me, that was the most surprising part of this whole thing. I was like, oh wow, pastor reported him before that Monday stream even happened.
Search warrant.
They arrested him. Oh, they had a search warrant, but they arrested Nick. Put him in the car, detained him. They knocked on the door. A child or somebody opened the door, but wouldn't let them in. They asked Nick for the code to get in the house. He refused it. They busted the door open.
Oh my God!
And then went, found all this stuff. Apparently, the house is a complete wreck, according to the documents.
And basically in the master bedroom, they found the drugs. Now, I think there's an issue with how they've measured
allegedly
the drugs. They're apparently.
I was just going to say 25 is 3 grams under an ounce. The ounce is usually a cutoff legal wise. It's surprising to me that it was at 25. If that's the truth of what you're saying,
it was combined to be 20. There's like 3 little baggies, 1 big baggie.
Added up to 25 grams.
Yes. Well, it's under 25 grams.
Right.
Yeah. Adding the packaging. I'm pretty sure the packaging doesn't count.
And let me tell you something. Also, when you boil down the drugs, the weight becomes even less because half of that is cut with inositol usually, which is what I did. So as a former drug dealer who sold a lot of coke, half of the weight is usually a non.
This is why I really think it's going to get knocked down from a 2 to a 3rd degree, and that's a huge win off the bat. Again, just looking at the sentencing chart, and they're bringing all the reasons why it is that it's not pure, that it's unlikely that it's pure. And one of the things that I pulled up here was in the sentencing guidelines, which as soon as he gets under that 25 grams, now you come to a 3rd degree. This is 2nd degree, where if it's either it's basically recommended 48 months or 58 months. If the charges get knocked down to a 3rd degree, that's already more than half the time shaved off to 21 months or 27 months that is in the recommended amount for a first-time offender. So because it's in the gray area here, the judge has the option of actually just giving them probation and having no jail time. So, and the closer he is towards that, being down here as opposed to up here, the more likely it is that he actually would get that. So that's why if you're in the camp, which is hoping that he gets no jail time, the fact that they're presenting all the reasons why we should be hopeful that he actually can escape jail time.
Drug substance.
Aside from all the other normal defenses and the fact that he's innocent until proven guilty, I'm talking about, like, even if he were convicted, that he could escape jail time.
I think so. The potential defenses, aside from search warrant suppression and other issues, is that between the defendants is a possession defense. As I say, it's not mine, and so so there's an obvious conflict between the three. But if you're Nick, you know how this always should shake down. So if anybody's out there's ever in this situation, you hire counsel right away. The old phrase, the lawyer that has a client has himself for a client has an idiot for a lawyer and a client.
Yeah.
And particularly, but what's worse here is trying to be the lawyer for the other two. That's hey, I can manage this. I can control this. Everything's gonna be okay. It's that mindset.
Yeah, I understand that, and like I said, cooler heads prevail. That's the first 24 hours after he was arrested. That's where his mindset was. It sort of sometimes takes some time to sort of sit back and say, yeah, I'm telling you right now, he is not going to be self-represented. I'm telling you that definitively. He is not going to be self-representing. He's not going to be representing Kayla. He's not going to be representing himself. He will not be self-represented. I'm telling you this as a certainty. He will not be self-represented. Now, Barnes might believe otherwise, and that's given his arraignment. I'm telling you now, he's not going to be self-represented.
Is that the addict mindset?
No, it's just the mindset of a guy who's a lawyer who, was trying to save his wife or do something here. I don't know what his mindset is. I mean, he's obviously a lawyer himself. Is he a member of the bar in Minnesota, Robert?
He is. But what you do right away is you call up a sophisticated. As soon as you got a
Megan Fox, she knows. I'm telling you now, she's correct. But they have separate independent counsel. He's not going to be self-represented. Let me pause and get to some of these. Hey, Joe, have you ever tried cigars? The more elegant will expose you to formaldehyde the way vape does. You're a good man for your forbearance in this, man. Don't know if I could do the same. I'll tell you that I have tried cigars. I don't get the nicotine out of them because you're not really inhaling them. You're just getting flavor. So I don't think Nick will ever reach his high highs of success again. Hopefully this is his lowest lows. You also have to know the many people kicking him while he's down were once his biggest fans. I do know that. They may disbar Nick. The bar spends a lot of time dealing with complaints about him. He also talks mad trash about the legal system. Now they have a chance to get rid of him. This is interesting. This is an interesting point, which could be. Then it becomes a legal question as to whether or not that's, they're treating him differently from others based on his things that have nothing to do with the reasons for the punishment and what remedy he has in that circumstance. But that's an interesting point. And they're in the mail. It's always in the mail.
arrested.
Yeah.
You can go inside the jail. You can call for a lawyer.
Yeah.
You call a very
Is he
sophisticated.
bailed out or is he incarcerated?
He's getting bailed out today.
No, he's on locals right now talking, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know anything about it, but
we'll see if that's a smart move or not.
Viva was asking me about it this morning, and I said if he needs some help, he could I gave him my number. He could call me if he needs help, which is a separate issue. It's not good at all. He may not. He might be 5 years from being done using. And just because you got arrested, I know a million people got arrested.
No. I'm saying good that you offered help, dude. Jesus, calm down.
No, I am totally calm. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know how it works. Simply because you want to help your friend doesn't mean he's going to get help, is all I'm saying here.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
I know plenty of people who've been to jail 15 times who were much bigger than Nick Rekieta and didn't want any help. Just getting popped isn't enough.
Well, that's my worry, is because he's on locals right now, which doesn't bode well. He's a live streamer. His whole live stream personality is to have drinks on live streams.
He's not going to be doing that.
Live stream, he's having a drink. He already agreed today.
He's not. I cannot imagine he would do that.
Know that, and it's going to
I'd be shocked if he did
that. Right near him,
I'd be shocked if he did that.
1949, called Hazel's Den, by a couple of guys that came back from World War II, and it's.
And I'm just going to pause this. I'm not going to watch the whole thing here. I'm just going to pause this and point out that, like, he's not stupid. He's not stupid. And by virtue of what he's committed to in this release agreement, going forward, running his show, it's going to have to be different, because he's not going to be able to raise a glass to people. It's going to have to be different. And these are other reasons that I'm actually hopeful that he's going to have the redemption arc that people are talking about, because it's going to have to be different. He's not going to be able to he's not an idiot. So he's not going to raise a glass. He's not going to like be doing that. And hopefully he's not going to be taking drugs. I'm confident that he'll be able to say, you know what do I need to do to beat this? I'm going to do it. It's really that simple. I mean, it's like whatever you think about Nick Rekieta, he's not an idiot. I think even his biggest detractors recognize he's not a fool. I might disagree with his legal assessment sometimes, but he's not. All right. So, anyway, I build this as the reasons you should be why the whole world should be supporting him. And I'm going to close with just a number of things here. There's a number of reasons you should be supporting him. The first and most important reason is you should be supporting him. And when I say supporting him, I don't mean necessarily you don't want to go watch his show. That's fine. At the very least, you should be rooting for him. The reasons you should be rooting for him as follows. Number one, if for nothing else, for his children. Because if he's a man who can actually come back to be the Nick that everyone remembers, his children are going to be much happier. His children are going to be in a much better place. I think we all recognize that's the sort of father that we all wish we would have. Some of us are blessed. I happen to be blessed to have an amazing father. Most people aren't. And being deprived of having any father at all, if he, God forbid, ends up in prison, or removed from his kids for one reason or another, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So, first and foremost, if only for the children, you should be rooting for Nick. And let's face it, assuming his wife has a problem too, I don't know, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. They both can climb out of whatever poor decisions they've made. So that's number one reason you should be rooting for Nick. It's just the humanity of like having concern for his kids. Number two is if you think about the number of people that he's actually brought joy to and or actually helped, that's kind of like, you kind of figure like, you know what? He's gotten his kicks. He's gotten kicked a lot. And it's time things start turning back for him. And I'm not saying that he hasn't made his own bed. Certainly a lot of choices he made at this point, given everything, given the context that we're assuming that there's, a considerable amount of truth to the charges. These are choices he's made. Okay. If you can root for him to actually make better choices going forward, who the hell wouldn't love to see that? Why would anyone not be rooting for that? So those are the two primary reasons. The third thing that I want to point out is I think the world needs a healthy Nick. I think that what he was able to bring is something that is irreplaceable. Robert Barnes can't do it. I can't do it. No one else can do what Nick does the way Nick does. What he did. Good Nick. As Dragon T said, old Nick. The Nick everyone fell in love with. Nobody does it like him. And such a positive force potentially in the world. All the former fans who turned haters. The reason they became they were fans of his initially is because the dude had messaging which was amazing and really healthy. So imagine if he actually can make the choices that everyone was banking on him making a couple of years ago, but actually really live up to those ideals. Oh my God, what a powerhouse. The world needs powerhouses like that. So, yeah, if you care about society being a good place and recognize the level of force that Nick has, whether it's in a public sphere, in social media, or I don't know, someone talking about him becoming a pastor. I don't know if he has any interest in that or not. He certainly seems to have religious inclinations. I mean, just think about the level of impact that his words have a capacity of having on individuals and groups of people. So why would anyone be rooting against him succeeding? And saying, oh my God, you know what? Here's a guy who actually is able to help people. So for him to be able to climb back on the horse, and be the Nick that we all remember, and for him to be universally regarded that and actually merit that acclaim, wow. Like why would anyone be rooting for anything less than that? So I'm simply saying, if you care about his children, forget putting Nick aside as an individual. If you care about his children, you care about the karma of the world, or you care about the world itself being a better place. There's literally no downside at all to him like actually making good choices, or you at the very least rooting for it. I'm not saying bet on it. I'm not saying even watch his show. I'm just saying at the very least, your own little corner of the world, you'll be happy. And I guess the fourth reason is just for yourself. Just for yourself. You're a happier person if you're rooting for people rather than against them. Just for yourself. Perhaps that's even the best reason. Just for yourself. Same way when we see someone, we meet someone, you sort of hope that the person is a good person. Same thing. I hope that he makes great choices. And I believe that he will. Again, it's not a prediction. I don't know the future. I believe he can. I believe he will. And God forbid if I'm proven wrong, I will never regret publicly issuing this statement. I'm not saying it's a straight path. I understand that, Kathy. I'm not saying it's a straight path. I'm simply saying I believe he can do it, and I'm hopeful he will. You say he's not done, but he keeps calling himself black. He's funny. Just to let you know, the Royal College of Physicians has proven vaping is 98% healthier than smoking. There's zero chance of vaping formaldehyde with the disposable. There you go. There you go. You tell him, Doug. You tell him. Yes, I have heard from him. I reached out to him, and I'll tell you that if he needs anything from me, any way, shape, or form, I will be there for him. And I am far from alone. Far from alone. Okay, I can tell you, people that I know that would give their left arm to help him. Specifically, I don't know if it's Andrew Branca, I know, give his left arm to help him. Attorney Tom, Megan Fox, Drex, Legal Vices. There's so many people. I can't name them all. Who would do anything to help him. And I'm proud to be. I'm proud to count myself amongst those people. So I have heard from him. I'm not going to read his message to me, but it was a very warm message. And I expect to be talking to him more directly. And I'll tell you, I probably won't share it with you, other than just an overview as far as he's hopefully reporting to you that I spoke to him and he seems like he's in a good path or something like that. But I'm certainly not going to provide any sort of detail about that because I'm just not doing that. All right. Sure. Okay. I think it's time for me to wrap this up here. I'm going to urge you to follow over on Locals. If you know if that Megyn Kelly created that herself with that voiceover, I'd really love to know that. Check out goodlogic.locals.com. That's goodlogic.locals.com. While you're here, before you get on out of here, if you can kindly kindly make sure hit the like and subscribe button. I am so close to 100. I can smell it. I can smell it. I can smell it. So if you could do that, I would be most obliged. Check out where to find me at goodlogic.locals.com. If you want to help me get Trump ungagged, that's givesengo.com/ungag Trump. Givesengo.com. You can read all about it. I even have filings referenced there. That's over at givesengo.com/ungag Trump. That's my show. Bugs are definitely not kosher, which is why I do not eat the bugs. Well, what they say, don't eat it. Don't eat it. Oh, well, there you go. I don't know what the Royal College is, but he's saying the Royal College of Physicians. Oh, that's why he's saying. Well, do not eat the bugs. Goodlogic.locals.com. Like, share, subscribe. Drop a comment below. Tell me your thoughts. I will see you all tomorrow. Till then, my friends, have a good night. And as always, Godspeed.